Well, I hope we're ready for this. We're actually for the maybe like the only the second or third time we're 1 minute late.
I didn't recall us ever being late.
Well, I think we may have once or twice before. So, all right, let's do the drill.
I got a Twitter notification, so
I
we
got
are.
a I got a YouTube notification, so
Yep,
that's a good
we're
sign.
twitting. You know me, I'm a Twitter fiend. That's my thing.
You are the Twitter guy. All right, so I'm checking. Yes, we are live on Facebook too. Okay, so that's a
Hey,
good thing.
you know what? And what's funny about that is I remember I was in Baton Rouge and I was at a we'll just say a political event, and Scott McKay was there. You know, Scott McKay's been around a long time, the hayride,
Right.
and you know, Scott and I were talking, and I said, you know, Scott, I said, you know, where I'm really finding myself at, I said, is Twitter, and he's like, oh, that's a sewer. I don't even go on Twitter. Well, I don't think it's a sewer anymore. Everything's there.
Yeah, and I was just reading where I hadn't confirmed it, but I guess Twitter's never actually been anywhere near the league of popularity that Facebook is. Twitter's always run about 250 million users, where Facebook's literally in the billions. But I read, I think yesterday, that the number of people actively using Twitter since Elon took over has doubled.
Yeah, it has grown exponentially, and Elon's doing a lot of stuff to promote it,
Right.
and you know, and everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter
I
your
mean, I don't know if I get the
politics.
whole X thing yet, but I still call it Twitter, so whatever.
I don't. Yeah, I don't get that either. But hey, there is so much to unwrap with what we're going to talk about tonight. I mean, that I don't even know hardly where to start.
Well, I don't either, and I've been wrapped up going through this video all day. We've been getting emails back and forth. I've been looking at bylaws of things. We've got Andy Modica is supposed to come on. As a matter of fact, I got to send him an email here in a minute. He's supposed to come on sometime around 7:45, 8 o'clock ish. I guess it kind of depends on when we can kind of break or open up. He's doing the National Night Out deal, so he was going to go to a couple of those functions, but he's supposed to come in. And then this PEC meeting, the Republican
Whoa.
PEC,
Yeah.
that was a doozy. It is like content gold.
Now, look, I told you that it was going to be, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a sense, you know that I've took that stuff to heart, and you know, it hurts me a little bit that it had to go the way that it went, and that it all happened. But you know, it's politics. It's part of it, and we'll go there. But hey, Bossier City, there was a lot of stuff that happened with Bossier City. So I, the long and short of it is, if you care about police jury issues, we're gonna oh my, you're gonna get all you want from issues pertaining to police jury races and police jurors. If you care about Bossier City and some of the what's that word, shenanigans. I mean,
Shenanigans, one of my favorite words.
yeah, Bossier City, we got something for you. But hey, there's also some things that took place at the courthouse today.
Really? Well, so I heard, sources say that some folks got was is apprehended the right
What?
word?
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me preface what
Okay.
we're going to say here. Allegedly,
Oh,
you know,
allegedly. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I forgot that keyword. Allegedly apprehended. Now, maybe we
we're
don't want to talk about it yet till after the break, but what?
yeah. Allegedly,
Mm-hmm.
allegedly, there were some illegal activities that may or may not
Really?
have taken place at the courthouse. And the interesting thing that well, I just got to tell you, there's another elected official. In fact, the top law enforcement officer in the parish was
What?
allegedly, yeah, the top law enforcement officer of the parish was allegedly, you know, a a party to this
Well,
illegal activity.
that narrows it down pretty good to just a couple of potential choices in who that top law enforcement official might be. This could be I'm intrigued now.
Well, yeah, and then there's also I think we're going to reveal tonight that there's been allegations of potential wrongdoing on behalf of other elected officials by other elected
What?
officials.
What is going on around this place?
Well,
I mean,
you've been watching the videos. I mean,
well, that's
in fact,
true.
you were even there.
I've seen more of Juliana Parks in the last 24 hours than I care to see. But she's not the only one. I mean, the best quotes and content weren't actually from Juliana, in my opinion. I mean, Doug the Taxman Rimmer was golden.
I got to tell you, if anybody out there ever wants to run against Doug Rimmer, I'm telling you up front, I'm going to oppose you. I'm not going to support you. I support Doug Rimmer. I'm just telling you up front.
You talking about for comedic relief or what?
Nope. I'm going to always support Doug Rimmer for anything that he runs for. He's my guy. Period.
Well, all right. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead because we got a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and do the countdown and our little intro deal and all that sort of thing. And let's get right into it. What do you say?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Going to the countdown, folks. Y'all know the drill. Grab your popcorn and whatever your favorite beverage is. Tag your friends, text your friends. We have some quotes from local Republicans that you're going to want to hear tonight and talk about. And we're going to have Andy on sometime later this evening when he gets through at the National Night Out thing. So anyway, we'll be right back. What?
Hey, we even had a local official basically throwing a rock at Jeff Landry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but then he tried to crawfish a little bit from it after he threw the rocks. It's like he threw the rocks.
Yeah, that guy that's going to be the next governor. I mean,
that guy.
The wisdom in pissing on the next governor to try to help Bossier Parish. I mean, I'm scratching my head. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
I don't either. You're right. I forgot about that quote because that is in the marathon meeting video that I've been studying. All right, here we go. Countdown. We'll be right back with the intro, folks. Y'all know the drill. Y'all get ready, tag, share this out, and all that good stuff. We will be right back.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way.
Okay,
It was not
okay.
David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't going to jump off in there with Chris. He ain't going to do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico and buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing. Folks, Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are like seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Transact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And you know who I forgot to add this evening to our list of sponsors that kind of help us offset our costs. David Johnson, our good friend with Eagle Truck, have decided to sponsor it again for a month or two. So anyway, shout out to them. I'll make sure and get the logo back in for the next episode.
Yeah, that's good. We need to get one night, all of our sponsors, we need to get them. And, guys, look, when people that support us and what we put out there, I got to say, you got a hat tip to them because they don't know what we're going to say. I mean, right. we make a lot of people.
Could be dangerous.
Mad. Yeah, yes. We do. We make a lot of people mad. So, and there's no stipulation that, you can't talk about this politician. You can't talk about that. So that says that, somebody is saying, hey, put it out there in the public arena. Let the public consume it. Let them decide. And, they're not steering it.
Yeah, they're not at all. When we have guests on, there are no off limits. Again, we always try to be cordial and relatively fair to any guests that we have on, but there's no off limits. If they want an off limits on a topic, that's a no-go. But you're right. Look at with the Acadiana Mortgage. I mean, your wife has no idea what we're going to say from 1 minute to the next.
No, she absolutely doesn't. And I will tell you, I think it has. I think it's cost us business. I really believe that it has. But look, we can't all take it to the grave with us. And not everybody's built that way. There's a lot of people. They think they're going to take it all to the grave with them. But the mark in your life is going to be whether or not you made a difference or not.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of money and taking it to the grave, we're going to talk about it here in a few minutes. But apparently, there was some discussion of that. How did Shane Cheatham put it? The what did he call it? The Tower of Tax Dollars.
Oh yeah, the sidewalk dude, Shane Cheatham. The Tower of Tax Dollars on Benton Road, on Bossier, but not Benton Road, East Texas. Yeah, but I think this is what amazes me. But also in the council meeting, they were talking about that hey, we had to spend this extra money, and apparently there was some issue with the foundation, and when they took bids to build this stupid thing, apparently it wasn't any responsibility of anybody to determine whether or not we had to construct a certain kind of foundation to support the damn thing.
Hold on. Let me answer this text. But yeah, I did catch that part of the city council meeting. I wasn't able to watch much of it because I was driving around town. But Yeah, and apparently the city, the taxpayers, were footing the bill for a mistake that was made. I guess I don't know. We'll talk about it here in a minute.
Well, look, the taxpayers foot the bill for all mistakes. It's always the taxpayer's fault. I mean, and I got to say, it's your fault because you're the one always having to pay for it. You know, tell me where an elected official or a government official, when are they ever held accountable? And in fact, the Matt Gaetz of Bossier is said as such in the Bossier City Council today. But look, speaking of Matt Gaetz, now look, and I know folks get tired of it, and I hate it for our show, but it's in my DNA. I don't make any bones about it. If you're a liberal and you're a Democrat, look, I still love you. Even Juliana Parks, I still love you, Juliana, even though I had to go after you. But here's the thing, you got to call it like you see it. You got to be who you are. And Matt Gaetz, 2 shows in a row. You don't care about that crap. I mean, you last show, Rex, personally, you were like, God, I don't want to hear Matt Gaetz. I could care less about that federal politics crap. You could care less. But what I will tell you,
yeah, it does have a tie-in apparently. So go ahead.
It was significant, and look, I make mistakes all the time, and like you tell me something, and you're trying to impress upon me that, hey, there's this giant beam of light shining in our eyes saying we should do this, and maybe I can't see the forest for the trees. I admit, I don't always see it, but I would say in this case, I was saying, hey, there's something here we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And, we may not have given it the notice, but hey, did you notice that in the first time, I understand this to be the case, that the first time we removed the Speaker of the House?
Well, see, that's complete total news to me. I've been so engrossed in the Republican Executive Committee, the RPEC meeting last night, and going through that video that I hadn't paid attention to apparently the national news going on. So enlighten us on what is going on.
Well, look, today in Washington, D.C., so whether you are a Republican, whether you are a Democrat, today you should be cheering. Today you should be proud, because today elected officials, regardless of party affiliation, took an action to correct a problem within government. And it was a big one. And I can only give credit to one person, Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, the guy who I've been highlighting 2 shows in a row. I've kind of been telegraphing it. Share my screen, and you guys can hear what happened.
Yeah, let's see what's going on.
The yeas are 216. The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Whoa. Wait a minute. So we have no Speaker of the House now?
So Kevin McCarthy, was made the Speaker of the House. And if you recall, we showed it on the show. We talked about how, Matt Gaetz and a lot of different congressmen stood up and delayed or blocked, the appointment of Kevin McCarthy to Speaker of the House. And and they got concessions that, hey, as you're going through this, but I mean, look, we're $33 trillion in debt. And they said, hey, we're going to have, just for example, line item votes on issues. They demanded that. McCarthy agreed, and he made the agreements and moved forward. He became Speaker. Well, you know what? He said, I'm going to release the January 6 tapes to prove that these people didn't, try to do an insurrection, all this crap. Well, Speaker McCarthy didn't do any of that crap. He didn't do what he promised he was going to do. So Matt Gaetz said, he telegraphed this a long time ago. He said, if you don't do what you say you're going to do, we're going to vacate the chair. Well, guess what? He made the motion today.
And it passed. More importantly, it passed.
And it passed. Now, the question becomes, and we talked about walk on water. And for those of you that don't watch the show regularly, when we talk about walk on water, and y'all are all wondering, why is this important? Why is this important? Well, there's a pretty big little tidbit here that you're gonna appreciate why it's important and why it has been important.
You all right?
Take over.
Be careful. See, you got to be careful talking about, if we say his name and actually say it 3 times like Beetlejuice, he might actually appear. Either that or it was Ryan Gaddy's ears burning because we're about to talk about his favorite person, MJ, and our favorite person too, for that matter.
Whew.
You gonna make it?
So, yeah, I'm choking on a little bit. So anyway, Matt gets and the Ukraine thing and walk on water.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this vote, on the continuing resolution. No, Kara, I'm not eating. Well, supposedly, Walk on Water voted for the continuing resolution that Speaker McCarthy went and cut a deal with the Democrats to get passed, right?
Right.
But supposedly, Walk on Water didn't vote for continuing funding the war in Ukraine and all that good crap, and overwhelmingly, it seems like the majority of the country is against continuing to piss away money in Ukraine when we're being invaded by our own southern border, right? So I can't find a list, and maybe someone can help me here. Maybe even MJ himself can help me understand. He's not listed on voting in favor of the continuing of funding of Ukraine. He's not listed as voting against. Maybe he didn't vote at all. And maybe that was a pretty smart vote if that's in fact the way that he voted. Because now that the Speaker of the House has been vacated, guess who one of the names is for consideration to be Speaker?
Oh, don't tell me it's going to be MJ.
I'm just telling you that MJ's name has been thrown out there. Wait a minute. What I said MJ. I'm just telling you, Walk on Water's name has been thrown out there as one of the names as consideration for Speaker of the House.
Well, he's got a shot at it, and he does have a silvery tongue. So, who knows? He might get it.
Now,
wouldn't that be convenient if he's Speaker of the House? Trump gets reelected. Does that mean he gets more Air Force One time and more selfies with Trump?
Well, what I'm going to say is that, whoa, got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a lot of folks that are suggesting that maybe the Speaker of the House should be Trump. Because if you remember when McCarthy was being nominated, Matt Gaetz kept nominating Trump. And, of course, everybody was kind of dismissive of it.
Right.
I'm wondering what happens. Think about this.
Well, yeah, what's the law on that, or what's the rule?
I plead my ignorance, but what I can tell you is what would be the chance? What if Trump was nominated to be Speaker of the House? What if he is actually made the Speaker of the House? And then what if he immediately called for the subpoena of Hunter Biden? What if immediately impeachment proceedings, continued forward? I mean,
well, that could be interesting.
I'm just saying, it could be interesting.
So somebody help us out in the comments if anybody knows what the actual procedure is, whether you have to be an elected official to be Speaker of the House. Honestly, I don't know. I remember us talking about it before. I remember Gaetz doing that, but I don't remember looking up and seeing what the procedural deal on it is.
Robert Wright says no, so there's the answer.
Oh yeah,
He's
never.
I give him credit. He's on top of it. But hey, so
I want to give
Yeah, I do. I want to
Okay.
give, because I think the man deserves it. I really do think that he deserves it. Matt Getz has done more for the American people in the last week than arguably any other elected official has in Congress has done for the people. He's simply trying to get everyone to vote on line item items.
Hold on. Hold. Stop the press for a second. Robert H. Wright says anyone can be speaker. So he was saying, no, they don't have to be an elected official or politician or state rep, I guess. or rep, rather.
Well, there you go.
That would be interesting.
But whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, I mean, I want y'all to listen to Matt Getz in this little clip right here and how all of the elected officials boo him, what he's fixing to say. Y'all listen to this.
Let me get this out of the way and go ahead.
And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans, $10 and $20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
So, I mean, if that's not a populist message, I don't know what is.
I would tend to agree. I mean, he's fun to listen to.
And you know how he got the votes? You know how he got the votes to unseat McCarthy? He did what McCarthy did on the continuing resolution. He went and got with the Democrats.
Yeah.
Even the freaking Democrats recognize that the only way we're going to change government is we got to start line iteming this stuff. We got to break it down to the intricate details. If we don't do that, it's not going to turn around. The Democrats,
otherwise it's the same old thing.
Tell me why the Republicans can't get that. I don't get it. Why do you want to continue to be uniparty? I don't get it.
Don't make me answer that. We'll have to turn in our Republican cards, which I'm not far from doing anyway, but that's a whole other story. All right. So we've found out that right now we have in Washington, D.C., no Speaker of the House at the moment, that MJ is a possibility, that anybody can be Speaker of the House, and by some stretch of the imagination, we might get Trump as Speaker of the House.
Well, either way, I got to tell you, with, a governor potentially in Jeff Landry, who is closely associated with the Trumps, and even potentially, look, I got my problems with walk on water. I do. What politicians are not a defect? I mean, if you run for office, there's a defect.
Right.
But even if he gets in there, I can't help but believe that it wouldn't be good for our state. It
wouldn't hurt.
I have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, so, I would agree with you.
I think it's nothing but upside for us.
Right.
All of this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As much as we make fun of him and all that, I would tend to agree. So, okay. Next item up for bids. Shall we, because if we keep saying walk on water and MJ, eventually he's going to show up like Beetlejuice. Shall we turn our attention to the city council? Shall we turn our attention to the RPEC?
Not so fast, Dano.
Right.
So we've got to go to allegedly.
Oh yes, I'm glad you reminded me. With everything going on, I'd almost forgot about being so intrigued 20 minutes ago. So what happened at the courthouse allegedly?
All right. So, look, if y'all watching the show, you either subscribe to the idea that we should be law and order, right? Rex, do you think if we got laws, should we abide by them?
I think we should. Now, look, full disclosure, sometimes I break the speed limit.
Well,
I try not to because I don't like paying the tickets.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering, do you think that even our law enforcement should be should they follow the law? Should they
Well,
enforce the
now,
law?
absolutely. Here's the thing. Our law enforcement, by definition, they're supposed to enforce the laws, and our elected officials, and, well, I guess bureaucrats too, if they're appointed by the elected officials, should be held to a much higher standard than us common folks out here. Because they're, they're the lawmakers. They're the ones who are charged with enforcing the laws as well as making the laws. So I would hold them to a much higher standard, which is what we do on this show.
And therein is my opinion what is the problem with all of our government today is our elected officials. And when I say law enforcement, I'm not talking about the guy, that's riding around in a patrol car, just if somebody's driving reckless and pulls them up. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about our elected officials. I'm talking about our judicial people. I'm talking about our people who, hold everybody accountable. That's who I'm talking about. And in this particular case, and let me clarify and let me say this, because I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this actually happened. I have a pretty good degree of confidence that there was an incident. Let me say that at the courthouse in Benton today.
All right. And let's be clear. We are sending some emails off to try to get any documentation to verify and back this up.
And I will tell you that I did reach out to an individual associated with the campaign of this elected or this that's correct, this elected official, but that this person running for office, that this event did happen and they didn't have any knowledge of it. And I informed them that we were sending out public information requests to confirm the accuracy of what we are being told. And so what allegedly happened, are you ready?
I'm listening.
Okay. So we're right at 100 people live. Thank you all for being here. But allegedly, here's what happened. So, and I hate even reporting this because I've made no bones about who I support in the Secretary of State's race. And, this is not that person, but allegedly at the courthouse today in Benton, early voting's going on, Rex.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people early vote. As a matter of fact, could be upwards of 30 and 40% of the vote are mail-in ballots and early voting, maybe more.
Yeah. So what if I was running for political office and early voting was going on in Benton, what if I went up to the courthouse and I stood outside of early voting and I was handing everybody that was going into early vote and a push card? You think there'd be any problem? You think there'd be any problem with that?
How far would you be from the polling place?
Well, I'd be in the building. I mean, I don't know, less than 100 foot. I mean, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What's the law?
They early vote on like the fourth floor. So if you give 10 foot per floor, that's 40 feet or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, but even if you count going down the hall, it ain't that far. Isn't that what's the law? 600? Is it 600? 900? I forget.
Oh no, I think it's a whole lot more than that. I think it's like, a whole lot more than that.
I can't remember. So somebody correct us in the comments. What's the law on electioneering? The distance. So wait a minute. You're telling me you were electioneering in the courthouse? Is that the big reveal? Oh, okay.
Not me. Absolutely not. I'm
just wanted to make. Andy Modica says 600 feet. Yeah.
There's too many people up there that would want to cuff and stuff me. I'm not going up there.
I was just saying, I'm not. You must be doing this show from a jail cell.
I'm scared, but allegedly a candidate for Secretary of State was up there electioneering.
And really
And
in the courthouse.
In the courthouse, yes.
Well, that guy's got some kahunas.
Well,
or woman, as the case may be.
Well, here's the problem with it, Rex. He apparently had the district attorney right by his side.
Wait, he must have had one of the stupid, I shouldn't say that, one of the smart assistant DAs.
No, Richard Ray and Charles Jacobs were not there. No, it was not the case.
You're telling me Schuyler was with him?
Charles Jacobs wasn't an assistant DA. I retract that. That's not.
Yeah.
I don't know why he said that. Richard Ray was not there. No. Or Patrick Jackson. No. Schuyler was there. Yeah, that's what we're allegedly told. I keep saying allegedly because
the only way this could get any better is if they allegedly drove up there in Lynn Lawrence's vehicle, the DA's vehicle that he flipped over the bridge and only got fined $100 for. That's the only way this could get any better. So you're telling me that sources are telling us that a candidate for Secretary of State was in the Benton courthouse handing out campaign information, which is straight up electioneering.
Yep.
With the DA himself, with Schuyler.
That is what we're being told by a source. And
Lord.
We're being told that now the term that was used was apprehended.
Almost spit my tea on my keyboard. Wait, please tell me if there's video or pictures of them being cuffed.
Well, we don't know any of that yet.
Oh, well, maybe they meant detain. There's always a distinction between being detained. Apprehended means they started chasing them down the hallway and had to tackle them and apprehend them.
Yeah. So for those of y'all watching, imagine the chaos that would ensue if at your election, wherever that is, it's your poll location where you go to vote. If when you go to vote, you've got all these political candidates standing right there at the door as you walk in, trying to slam a push card in your hand or, convince you to vote for them as you go to vote. You can't do that.
Well, I guess you can, Duke, because they did it. All right, so hold on a second. So there's the sheriff's deputies that are in charge, of protecting the courthouse. So do we have any information on, I'm assuming, well, that's a dangerous word, but I'm assuming it had to be sheriff's deputies that apprehended them or whatever. Do we know, did they take them to jail? I don't even know what the penalty for electioneering is.
Well, I have no idea either, but, I can only assume. I mean, look, we were told they were apprehended by deputies. I mean, I just can't believe that, probably I'm spitballing here. Probably what happened is, I'm blown away that they were in the presence of the DA. That if that's accurate,
and what would even be even better if Schuyler was actually handing out the push cards. That would be even better, but we don't know that or not.
Yeah, but I don't know that I believe that. Probably what actually happened is probably, this candidate was with Schuyler, visiting with him, came up there, whatever, and, probably walking around the building. He's probably being introduced to people or something of that sort. He hands out a push card. Somebody sees it. It is electioneering. No matter what, I don't care. That's electioneering. And, somebody raised the issue and the deputies maybe confronted it and said, you can't do that and you need to leave the building. That's probably what happened.
So
I don't.
I'm just, now I'm really intrigued. So I want to find out what happens to the candidate besides just, oh, you can't do this and a slap on the wrist.
Well, you would think, and look, I like this candidate. He's been around. I consider him a friend. In fact, he's been on the show.
I'm trying to think back.
He's been on this show.
Oh, yes, he has. I did not realize that till you just reminded me.
That's right. He has been on this show. He's a good guy. He's been around a long time. He serves on the Public Service Commission. And, Mike Francis, that
Nice guy, yeah.
nice guy and long-time loyal Republican. In fact, he acknowledges that he has been recruited by the clerk of courts across the state of Louisiana to run for this office because they don't want hand-marked paper ballots. They want a machine, and they don't want all the problems that would come, or what they say. They don't want it, but yet he allegedly again was electioneering in the Bossier Parish Courthouse. We're trying to confirm that.
We need to confirm it, so we want to say allegedly. If it turns out not to be true, then we will absolutely come on next week or whenever and issue a retraction.
That's correct, Ryan Haygood. It was not Brandon Trosclair, who is advocating for hand-marked paper ballots to guarantee that we have a secure election and something that is auditable. Mike Francis is adamantly opposed against hand-marked paper ballots to ensure that we have an auditable election. And I will tell you, if Brandon Trosclair doesn't make the runoff, I'm going to support Mike Francis. I'm telling you where I stand. I told Mike Francis
you might not can if he gets disqualified.
But if it turns out that he was electioneering,
big if. Yeah,
it's a big if. But if in fact that turns out to be accurate, I got to tell you that how are you going to be Secretary of State if you're willing to break the laws and electioneer? Right there at a
well, I guess he figured. I guess he figured he was with
the DA is the chief law enforcement officer of the state, of the parish.
Now hold on a second. Again, I hate to belabor the point, but if you're any candidate or any elected official and you follow anything in the news, you would know that Schuyler apparently carries get out of jail free cards and hands them out like candy to Lynn Lawrence. And so maybe you think you can just get by with. I don't know. I'm only halfway joking, folks.
Well, on the Lynn Lawrence thing, I got some questions still on that one, but I gotta say, I gotta say this one. There is a air of lawlessness not in all of our government.
I know it's like playing whack-a-mole from the city council to the PEC to the police jury, and of course it's all related to, potentially candidates for Secretary of State. Where does it end?
Well, look, that brings me to last night. Last night I was accused of being a habitual. They didn't use the word habitual. That's my words, but that I was.
Oh, you were straight up called a liar. Yeah,
I was straight up called a liar about everything that I articulated. And, look, I enjoy doing this show. I enjoy talking politics. Politics is my thing. I make no bones about it. Some people have different hobbies. You like to fish. I like to hunt. Right. I also like politics. You like politics. And, I pointed out the obvious. I'm playing in the game. I'm playing the game of politics. And if you're going to play in the game of politics, it's all on the table. It is.
All right. So I want to stop you right there for a second. So Andy just sent us a text that he's ready. Now, folks, bear with us. Because of scheduling, we hadn't been able to test this with Andy, so bear with us for a minute. What do you say, Duke? We go ahead and have Andy on. We'll do this interview, and because he was at the PEC meeting last night, maybe we'll get some of his perspective on it, and then we'll dive right into the PEC stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, because Andy actually participated and contributed to that meeting last night, and I got to tell you, hat tip to Andy Modica, for... Look, he's not scared to step up and say something.
Yeah. All right. So I'm texting him right now to see if we can go ahead and get him on. If not, I'll set him up with the phone number to call in, so bear with us. Might take a second. All right, so let me switch screens here, and let me do this. Just a second, Andy. Okay, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, and we can hear you. Wow, we're getting it right out of the gate. That's a good one.
Good job, Rex.
Yeah, hey, it was just nothing but pure luck. And I understand you're one of the people in Benton, so I'll just start off with this out of the gate. You're one of the people in Benton with a fiber connection? Is that what you told me?
I do. I have AT&T fiber.
Wow, you got that fast internet up there in Benton.
I tell you, it's good.
Yeah. All right. So, I'll just start off with how was the National Night Out thing?
Well, it was good. It was good. Also spent half the time at my grandson's baseball game on Shed Road down there. I can't remember the name of the field, but it's over there, Shed Road in Swan Lake.
Well, that's always a good time. Okay. So we were just talking about lawlessness and all sorts of things. So I have no idea where this conversation's gonna go, but we did give the. Oh, go ahead.
Let me steer it just a little bit, Rex.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're a little too aggressive. Let me give Andy the soft approach because he's not a politician. I mean, look, Andy, you were a educator, and
Yes,
that's your background. And some people say, oh, you know what? That's a bad thing. You know, that makes you by default a historical government employee guy, blah, blah, blah. I get that too, because, you know, I was a fireman. Therefore, that makes me a government employee. You know, I get it. But, you know, you can be a government employee and you can have a limited government idea. And with that said, you know, what drew you to jump in this police jury race? And I want to point out too, and I want to preface this, that we tried to, before bringing you on the show, we tried to set up a debate with your opponent between you and him. And, you know, we've been critical of your opponent. We haven't been critical of you. There are some things we could say about you, but we're going to give you the choice to, you know, do it. But your opponent declined to debate you. And, you know, what drew you to get into this race?
Well, Duke, it came down to, you know, I believe in my whole heart that every politician, and I include this all the way from the White House to, you know, to Bossier Parish. I believe in my heart of hearts that every politician should have to answer for their previous term. You know, what their actions were, what their non-actions were. You know, so he wasn't going to have to do that. I live in this district. I can't do anything about anyone else's district, but I can do something about my district. And I called up Jill Sessions and I asked her if anyone's running against Philip, and I, you know, I decided to throw my hat in the ring. But I'm going to tell you, the decision wasn't that day on Thursday. Was August the 10th. My decision basically was made back December of the previous year. You know, that I was thinking about, you know, serving my community. I've been doing that since I retired from teaching and coaching. I've been serving as a volunteer for KBB, Keep Bossier Beautiful. I'm a constable here in Benton, making very little money to do something that just needs to be done. It's one of those positions, and I guess you can say in government that, you know, has to be taken care of. And there was an opening, so I jumped in and wasn't even I guess it was unopposed last year. There was a couple of things I do. Let me finish here, but I'm also on the MPC Adjusters Board as a volunteer. We meet once a month if we have to meet, and I'm also working for the school board. I am the bus disciplinarian for the school board. So I've been doing a lot of things on the outside, and I just think I needed to do something on the inside, you know, so that's why I run.
Well, let's cut to the chase here.
Okay.
It wouldn't it be accurate that it's probably a lot of the things that took place regarding the Cypress district? Wouldn't that be accurate?
Well, that is very accurate, and Rex would know that because I've been in probably not as many meetings as he's been in, but I've been in quite a few of them. I was almost kicked out of one of them. I think I was my first one too. But I believe you need to stand up and speak your mind when you think things are going wrong. And I guess that's really what started the whole process. I actually tried to get Mr. Rogers to appoint me to Robert Berry's position probably a year ago, and I called him and gave him my resume, and I thought it needed to be done a long time ago, which everyone does. Everyone knows that's involved with the CBB board, and what went on for the last, I guess, few years. I won't say how many, but a few years. But so you're right. You're right, Duke. I mean, that's what really steered me to. I won't say politics, but I will say get involved at a deeper level.
All right. So let's clear up a few things or get a few things out of the way. So the Cypress district and the issues there and with Robert Berry were kind of the precipitant to you thinking about this, right? About running for the police jury, I guess it'd be fair to say. But what are some of the other issues around your district? So I'll throw you the softball here. What are some of the other issues around District 3 that you've seen that you feel could be better addressed?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Rex, I'm not going to sling any mud. I'm not going to throw anything out there. I just want my voters to actually be informed of what's been happening. I've talked to quite a few of the voters here in District 3, and one story after another of things that have been happening and really things that have not been happening. Everyone talks about infrastructure, and the roads. I mean, everyone talks about the roads. Now, most of our roads here in the district are okay. I mean, nothing's great, but they're okay for a rural area. I guess you would call this kind of a rural area, even though we've got quite a few rooftops, around this district. But, there are some roads that are in needed repair. And, when you look at and I've on video, I've mentioned I think the voters ought to go and look at the 3-year plan, the 3-year overlay plan, that the police jury actually does. And you can see that, over the last 2 times on the 3-year plan or 2 terms of the 3-year plan, our district has not been represented well. For as many rooftops and many subdivisions in this district, no, we're not represented well with infrastructure. And then you talk about the other infrastructure. How about internet access? Y'all mentioned that I have pretty good internet access. You're right. It just happened 4 or 5 months ago that we were able to get it on West Lakeshore. But it was a tough time going there for a while, dealing with Suddenlink, then Optimum, and then. But what I was trying to get to is, I would say at least half of this district is still using HughesNet and things that and it's just it's not good. I mean, it's satellite, and when it rains, you don't have any internet. When the wind blows here, you don't have any internet, or at least I didn't. And people using I don't really know all the internet access around here, because I've been fortunate on West Lakeshore here to have just Suddenlink and AT&T.
Now, Andy,
yes, sir.
I appreciate that, and we were hopeful that there was a high-speed internet provider up here in the Benton area in our district. I live right here with you. I mean, look, we're like neighbors. So I know that there was something that kind of fell by the wayside, and it didn't kind of come to fruition to address that problem. But I want to segue off of that, and I appreciate the fact that you're wanting to try to address that issue. But I want to get back on the Cypress District thing. Your opponent that you're running against, when he ran, and Rex, I'm giving you plausible deniability to be out of here because you had a role. So I'm going to take the lead here. He took a stance on trying to address issues that people on the lake had. And I recall specifically in Benton, there was a kind of a town hall meeting by the Cypress Black Bayou folks. And you were there. I was there. You were there. Rex was there. Philip Rogers was there.
I was giving the
And
presentation.
I was sitting right beside Philip Rogers.
Right.
yeah, and I specifically remember Philip Rogers saying one thing, and it really stuck out in my mind. And I got to tell you, I had a flashback last night. I mean, Philip Rogers said, "Y'all just don't understand. Y'all just don't understand." And I remember you about jumped out of your chair.
I did. And actually, he led that statement off with, "Are there any lawyers in this room? No. Y'all just don't understand what's going on."
Right. Yeah.
And,
well,
I almost fell out of my seat.
So I'm just wondering.
Let me jump in here for a second. So, and not to completely bash Philip, but the truth is, you got to let your potential voters out there know what separates you from Philip. And this is one of the big issues because, look, full disclosure, I helped Philip with his last campaign. You can go check the campaign finance reports. The videos that he had. The videos that he had, almost all of them I produced. I've told the story many times. We rode around in the truck and he told me how he was going to do something about the Cypress District and Robert Berry because that was a hot button issue with me, even though I'm not in District 3. All right. And so at that meeting, his contention was that, he was, and he said this more than since then too, that it was not really that many people, that, we were a dozen people or whatever he said at the meeting, or maybe a couple of dozen or whatever at that particular meeting. Now, Andy, I'm going to ask you, we sent around a petition a while back, a digital petition, had no legal bearing, but we sent it around. Did you sign that petition to address or express your concern about the Robert Berry situation?
Not only did I sign it, I also got a bunch of people to sign it also.
Right.
I was completely behind that.
Okay.
And I was,
and as best I can remember, it was approximately, because I did all the digital stuff, it was about 500 people overall that was presented to the police jury by Renee Hall. Literally, she handed copies at the meeting. So it just seems disingenuous for Philip to say that it was, only a couple of dozen people. He repeated that not too long ago. So maybe tell everybody again, and we've covered it ad nauseum, so you don't have to spend much time on it, but why is that Cypress District issue? Because you saw it last night. You were at the Republican Executive Committee meeting. Robert Berry's name came up almost as much as everybody else. Why is that such an important issue in District 3? But I would also remind everybody in 65 of the 80 some odd precincts in Bossier Parish. What is wrong? Or was?
Well, before I say anything else, I want to come up front and tell the people that are watching this. I see 99 here on my screen. Understand this. This is what I'm talking about. And when we mentioned Philip Rogers or even Robert Berry, this is a political life. People, this is not personal life. You cannot consider this mudslinging like some of the people that I've actually had to contact or contacted me on Facebook and saying that, we don't need to be doing that. Political life needs to be public. And especially with, the culture and the social media that we have, it's not hard to do. So when you actually make a statement in a meeting, like you just mentioned earlier, and I mentioned earlier, or you make a statement, at your job, in police jury, then you're held to that statement. I mean, that is your public statement from your political office, not just you personally. That's from your political office. So I want to say that first of all. This is, what I'm saying right now, and what I've been doing my whole campaign is I've been asking questions. Okay. And I've been stating facts, political fact or public facts, just repeating them, what actually I witnessed, or it's been reported. Or, in writing a lot of times. So this is not considered mudslinging. I just want people informed about what they're going to do when they go to the polls. And well, it used to be click that, that lever, but, so that's first of all. And to answer your question, Rex, how does that affect, you said 65 districts in our parish? It affects us a great deal when you have someone in a position that is being unlawful, or is holding the position unlawfully. I'm sure, you don't live on the lake and you don't live in this district, Rex, but you were involved quite a bit. Why would you be involved? Because of a wrongdoing. Okay. That's why I get involved. And that's why I speak up. When I speak up, it's because of something being done wrong. It's not the right way of doing things. It's you could say sometimes they're unlawful, but most of the time it's unethical. And when something is unethical, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say what I believe and what I feel, from my heart. So,
Andy, do you think that it's bad karma for a police jury? Let's say, for example, if you had been on the police jury when the bridge coming over Black Bayou was closed, and Ed Burchett and my wife are pointing out in the comments, for over 14 months, people were having to drive around to Benton. I mean, do you think it's bad karma for a police jury in an open police jury meeting to debate issues in front of the public, for all of the public to be able to see and hear the arguments? I mean, do you think that's wrong?
Do I think it's wrong for who to do that?
For the public to see dissension among police jurors, to see them debate and not agree on issues and, disagree on things. Do you think that's a bad thing?
No, Duke. In fact, that's why it just blows my mind when I go to a police jury meeting and every vote is unanimous and there is no debate. It's already been decided, or everyone is on the same. I'm sure maybe everyone's like-minded, and or there's ESP going somewhere or something. But unanimous vote on everything with no debate. I don't see how that's happening. I don't understand that. I mean, someone ought to ask questions.
And that's my point. It seems like all of our government, and I'm not just talking about the police jury, but I'm talking about from the city of Bossier, in which, you've got no dog in that hunt. But, all of our government, it's as if it's all choreographed. And the thing is if we all want to watch a play or we all want to watch a TV show, we'll defer to Hollywood to give us that. But when it comes to decision making in our lives that affect our lives, we should be able to get the raw, unfiltered, unadulterated truth about the issues. And I think that our local governments have been infected with, I hate to say it, but this woke ideology of they're supposed to have all the answers. I don't expect Andy Modica to have all the answers, but you know what I do expect of Andy Modica if he was to be my police juror? I expect him to be able to debate with somebody, and then if he gets his teeth kicked in, to say, you know what? I think you're right, and say it publicly. And I'll respect him or that politician more for having that debate and dialogue and acknowledging, you know what? Your idea is better than mine. I think you're right. You know what? I respect that. Why do we not have that in politics anymore?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you because, like I said, it blows my mind that, that you have unanimous votes every single time. Now, I know some of them, are, rubber stamp situations and all that, but, at least there should be a question thrown out. When someone is actually approaching the police jury at the podium and given their their spill on why this should happen. I see a few people up there actually asking questions and everything, but what is that? I mean, I don't understand why there isn't any debate. among jurors. You know, I don't understand that. I mean, I watched C-SPAN for years. Okay, and there's debate going on before they have a vote. You know, there's fights out there. You know, and I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. Okay, and I'll apologize when I'm wrong. And I will make sure that everyone knows that I was wrong and you were right. Let's get it done right. You know, let's actually do something the right way. You know,
so
yeah.
let's go back in time just a little bit, not too far. A couple months ago, you were at a police jury meeting and they were doing the nominations to basically replace Robert Berry. Robert Berry was, you know, he applied. He was one of them. You had also applied for the position to be the nominee to the Cypress board from the Bossier Parish Police Jury. Let me make sure I say all that right. And you made the comment that basically, I'm probably paraphrasing you a little bit. You can correct me, but basically that the fix was in. So 2 questions. Do you want to elaborate on that any? And then number 2, what do you think about the new nominee from the Bossier Parish Police Jury? What do you think about Rodney? Do you think he'll do a good job?
Well, yeah, going back to that meeting, I wasn't even told I was going to be speaking that meeting. I actually applied way before that actually happened, you know, before they actually started taking applications. And so, you know, because like I said before, I wanted that position when it should have happened and not at the end of his term. It should have happened a couple of years back. But so I was trying to get that position for a while because I live on the lake. I've got 10 feet of lakefront property, okay, where I can just pull my boat up on the grass and I'm good. But that 10 feet cost me quite a bit of money, you know, so I've been interested in that for a long time. But yeah, when I walked up there, I wasn't prepared to make a speech. But I already knew who was getting the job. I already knew Rodney Madden was Philip's man, and I knew Philip had the votes. You know, how did I know that? I'm not telling you, but you know, I knew that. And when I stepped up there, since I didn't have a speech ready, I just shot from the hip. And you know, I said, I don't know why you need to hear me talk. You know, this is already a done deal. You know, and then you know, a few of them asked me how I knew that, and that can't happen because we haven't even discussed this. You know, and I said, okay, sure, okay, and you know, so but Rodney Madden, sure, he's a good choice. I understand that he really didn't want it, and Philip had to talk him into it, is what I was told. But you know, the first meeting that I went to where Rodney was in there, I think he did a great job because he stepped up and he conversed with the public. He conversed with the room. He allowed people to talk and speak their mind, and he talked back to them and he gave them answers. And when he didn't have the answers, he asked for the answers, you know. So there was a dialogue for the first time since I've been on this lake. There was actually a dialogue in that room, in that nature center. And that was a breath of fresh air. And Kelly Long, I want to talk about her. Kelly Long, she stepped up to the plate when Rodney did. Okay. Right. And when Rodney started doing that, and Kelly Long followed along with her, and she was very personable also. And the lawyers barely even got involved, where they've ran the show for the last 3 years, you know, so.
Well, and just to remind everybody, we've got that video posted, so y'all can go back and watch that. But I would agree with you because I was at that meeting too, and I've known Rodney, you know, full disclosure, he's been a client of mine for a while. I buy tires from him and all that, so I've known him for quite a while. I think he was a good choice, but you got it right that Rodney was having a conversation with everybody there, and so was, like you said, so was Kelly. So I was pleasantly surprised too, having attended, like you, many of the meetings where it was an absolute circus.
Now, I will tell you this. Now, I listened to everyone's speech, and I listened to everyone's experience. I didn't get to see their resumes, but I can't remember the guy's name that actually applied with me. But I thought he was the best choice. I mean, just listening to him and his qualifications, and like I said, I can't remember his name, but I thought he was the choice to be made. But like I said, Rodney's done a great job so far. So, So that, I mean,
Uh-oh.
that's a good thing.
We lost you, Duke. It says you muted yourself. See if you see if you can unmute her. You may have to. There you go. Gotcha.
Well, Bo was notifying me that I should be considerate of the fact that there may be a black van pulling up outside of the premises. So, you know,
Are the helicopters out there hovering over the lake yet?
he's guarding, you know, while I'm, you know, anyway. So
After last night, so
Andy, look,
Yes, sir.
I gotta know. So when you get on the police jury, I mean, are you just going to do whatever Patrick Jackson tells you to do?
Well, you heard my question last night when I asked Juliana Parks why she said that they require us to take Patrick Jackson's advice, and that stuck with me. So I had to ask the question: did you really mean that? And but no, my neighbor down the road is a good friend of mine. He said you need to put this in your campaign that you're not going to drink the Kool-Aid. And and I've had someone ask me just recently, what do you mean by that? I said, well, you remember Jim Jones? And oh no, okay, well, whatever. No, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. I can promise you that. That's one of the things I'm standing for, and I'm 100% guaranteeing my constituents, people that are voting for me, and the rest of you that may not vote for me. Okay, when I get in, and I'm not saying if, I'm getting in. When I get in, okay, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. I am going to ask the questions. Okay, and I am going to stick up for the people here in District 3 in Benton.
Well, I got to ask you then right off the bat. Of course, we heard the lame excuse last night that they're supposed to be adding a better audio and sound system. I mean, it's not like that's terribly difficult. I mean, Duke and I are complete amateurs, and well, we got pretty good audio and sound with
I
this.
wouldn't say you're an amateur, Rex.
But I want to make sure that when you get in there, you're going to make darn sure that the meetings are much easier for the public to see and hear, and that they're able to live stream those effectively on Facebook and YouTube for that matter. It's not that hard to do both.
That's supposedly in the works already, like you said. But, I'm not a technician either. My wife had to set up this computer for me. So
she did a good job.
Thank you. So, that's not my forte, but, I've already decided my number one thing that I'm going to do for this district is I'm going to have a town hall meeting. And I tell you what, I'll invite every single one of the other police jurors to come up here, and I'll invite their constituents up here, and we'll have a meeting, as big a room as we need to, and we'll discuss what's going on in Bossier Parish. And we'll discuss what's going on with that district or the issues you have. I'm going to do that once a month. Until no one starts showing up, I'm going to continue to do that. If I get one person in there, we're going to have a town hall meeting once a month. And we're going to start that in November.
Yeah, let us know. We'll be glad to come up there and cover some of them or live stream them if you want. So just let us know.
I love that idea. I saw that I think I even got maybe a piece of mail that even said that. In fact, I may have it right here. Anyway, yeah, I got it somewhere. Anyway, yeah, I read that you said that. Hang on. Yeah, Coach Andy, right there. Yeah, I got it. And I appreciate that. Why is it that the existing police jury, once they get in there, why is it, do you think, that they suddenly feel like that they know what's best and we shouldn't even consider what the public thinks or disregard them? You even heard a police juror last night dismissing people in Bossier City, and their thoughts on term limits, for example. It makes me scratch my head why they suddenly, once they get elected, they feel like they have all the answers, and that everyone that's just out there in the community, you no longer matter. Your voice doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. We know what's best. Does Andy Modica know what's best for everybody?
Oh, no. I'm not a know-it-all. I mean, my first wife called me a dumb jock. So, but I don't know everything, but I know how to ask a question. I know who to call if I need an answer. Okay, but I will never say that. I will never say ever that I know everything. I know what's right. Okay, I know right from wrong, and if I don't have the answer, someone's got to have it, and I'm not gonna take the lowest bid. I'm gonna take the highest bid, on that question. So
Does it matter more what Andy Modica wants or what his constituents want?
I thought I was a representative of the district. I'm
Good
not.
answer.
I'm not going for king of the district. I'm running for representative of the district.
So even if you don't agree, if the people of your district want it, that's what you're going to support.
Yeah, you throwing me softball question here? That's pretty easy. That's pretty easy answer.
No, I'll be honest. Exactly what I'm doing is getting you on record to say, what it should be. That's what I'm doing.
Well, you know what? You can have my job if you ever catch me doing something that's not right for my district. I can promise you that. You can have my job.
All right.
Am I for term limits? If you're asking that, I signed the thing first day it came out. Okay.
That
yes,
is
I
true.
am I for term limits for the Bossier Parish? Yes. What was it? The open rule law or something? Open rule charter?
Oh, the home rule charter? Yes.
Home rule charter. I knew it was something like that. I'm for that. If that's going to give us term limits, if that's going to make us transparent, to our parish, then I'm for that. I'm for transparency. Okay. And I believe the biggest thing that we have in this country right now, the worst thing that's going on in this country is career politicians. I mean, if you think back to our founding fathers, they were farmers and businessmen, and they went to Congress for 4 years, and then they came back and they got back into the fields, picked up a hoe, picked up a plow, and went back to work. We got people up there like Joe Biden's been there 50 years. He's never had another job. Well, I think he taught, didn't he, in some community college? But
maybe.
I mean, that's ridiculous that we have these people, that are 90 years old. Now, I'm not trying to throw her under the bus or anything, but a 90-year-old politician, representing her district or her state, and people like Joe Biden and what is his name? The one that keeps freezing on TV.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're paying attention because
right.
Well, I promised my wife 2 years ago that I wasn't going to watch the news anymore because it was depressing me. But I do turn on C-SPAN because that's not news. That's straight from the horse's mouth. That's not with anyone's opinion or anyone's, take on that, So
Jessica Maddox says McConnell.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell.
Thank you. There you go, Mitchie. Yeah.
All right. So you were at the Republican meeting last night. So yes. I don't necessarily expect you to throw any other police jurors under the bus, but Duke, correct me if I'm wrong. The only police juror that signed the term limits petition has been Charles Gray. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, that's correct. There's been a couple of candidates that are running that have
signed the.
But Charles Gray was the only active Bossier Parish police juror that signed the petition.
Now,
how long has Charles Gray been there? He's been there.
That's a good question. Yeah, he's been there for a while. Yeah, I think so.
And he wants term limits. I mean, that could tell you right there, that man, even though he's a Democrat, but I mean, he wants term limits. He wants to do the right thing. I was able to talk to Charles Gray for about 30 minutes after the 9/11 ceremony down there at the Bossier Civic Center. And we talked for 30 minutes about all of that, about term limits, about what's going on with the police jury. And he was very upfront with me and told me some stories that I needed to know and told me some things that I should watch out for. And he was helping me out, So I'm a Charles Gray fan at this point.
You know,
Good.
Ed Burchett brings up a really good point, and Ed is right. He says, when you're elected, please ask the board to lower the lakes, as it has been
10
since their
years, 11
inception.
years, I think.
He said 4 years overdue, and I would agree. I mean, my seawall is like falling into the lake because the non-enforcement of no wake zones. I mean, literally. I mean, it's falling in the lake. He's absolutely right.
I thought you had a wake boat too. Don't you
No,
have a
sir.
wake boat?
No, sir. I don't have a wake boat.
No, I agree. It needs to be drawn down, and not because of Salvania or anything. It needs to be drawn down for people to actually work on their structures. You know, whatever the case may be. And I'm not a fan of drawing down the lake, but it needs to be done every so often. We don't, you know, this is not a natural lake. You know, so it needs to be drawn down and taken care of. You know,
That's a good
I
point.
totally
So
agree. And the dam spillway needs to be taken care of. That would be a good time to do that, wouldn't it? So,
sure would. So I want to point out real quick that our good friend Barry Butler and some others have commented. Just that I was watching, he commented that this is Gray's first term. So,
oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, I thought he was in longer than that too, but apparently it's his first term according to the comments. So,
all right.
All right. So we got to move on and start talking about the PEC meeting and the city council meeting and all this other stuff. And I'm pretty sure you probably don't want to be seen on the same screen with us talking about all that. So let me ask you this.
Firsthand, so I don't want to do it again. So
right, but let's wrap up with this, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know you're kind of out and about this evening and all that. If you had to leave potential voters with one thing or a couple of quick things to think about when they go to the polls and why they should vote for you, what would those things be? Why should somebody go ahead and pull the lever for you?
I'm not going to ask them to pull the lever for me. Okay. My last post on Facebook or social media was that I believe that the most patriotic thing that we do in this country is voting. Okay. And voting with your mind and not necessarily your heart. Okay. Know who you're voting for, why you're voting for that person. Okay. I get on my app, the Go Vote app, and I look at all the amendments and I research the amendments before I decide to vote. I research the candidates. Okay. I'm a Christian conservative Republican. Okay. I've always have been. I wish some of my children were more Republican, but I can't do anything about that. They're all grown. My youngest is getting married in 3 days in Cancun. So I'm going to be out of the country for a while. But nonetheless, I want you to vote your conviction. Be convicted on who you vote for. Don't vote for your friend. No one knows who you vote for when you step into that booth. Okay, they can still be your friend afterwards. All right, vote your conscience. Vote informed. Okay, I don't want you to vote for me unless you want to vote for me. Okay, and you know where I stand. Okay, I stand ready to do service. I'm retired. I have no business interest. I have no conflict of interest. Never will. Okay, and I'm going to do what I need to do for this district. When you tell me something needs to be done, I'm going to work to get that done. I'm never going to make everyone happy. No one can make everyone happy, but I'm going to do my darndest to do that. I'm going to ask questions and I'm going to seek answers. So that's me. Okay. That's me in a nutshell. I'm not going to ask you to vote for me. Vote your conscience.
I can't disagree with that. What say you, Mr. Lowry?
I appreciate it, Andy. Thank you for coming on. And, hey, the early voting is happening now. And, I think you're a good candidate. You're a worthy candidate.
Rex, Duke, I want to say one more thing live here. You guys do a great service for this parish. And I, for one, and I know there's a bunch of people that will agree with me, think that you do a great job. Yeah, you stir the pot, which I think the pot needs to be stirred ever so often. Okay, but I want to let you know that I am grateful and thankful, and I appreciate what you two guys do. And I know everyone that's watching this probably think the same way. Thank
we
you, guys.
appreciate that. And hey, thank you for running, because you're just trying to serve too. So it goes both ways.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Andy. Good luck.
Yeah, if you need anything else, just holler at us or text us. Or if you got an issue or something like that, we'll be glad to have you back on.
I will. Go Tigers.
There you go. Go Tigers. Okay. So, to be clear, Philip Rogers was invited, and I'll read his emailed response 10 days ago. He says, because we were going to do it debate style. And, most of you have seen, we try to be very fair in our debates and, and all that. Philip did say, thank you for the invitation, but I will decline. Unfortunately, I do not know what I could debate my opponent on, as he has not campaigned on anything that relates to the position he is running for. He has only regurgitated meritless talking points and slung mud, which I will not engage in. Thanks, Philip.
I didn't see any mudslinging tonight.
Folks, did y'all hear any mudslinging? We talked about the Cypress District and the police jury and, term limits and
all valid issues and things that, are worthy of a debate between candidates for the public to be able to glean a difference between them. I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
I would argue if you can't get on here and talk about your record, then maybe you don't need to be reelected. But then again, I'm not voting in District 3 either, so whatever.
But I am. In fact,
you are a potential constituent.
In fact, I mean, we're currently at I think maybe 3 in our household and pushing 5 in our household. So
maybe Andy was able to change some hearts and minds tonight, or cement some, people that were already leaning towards him. Who knows? We'll see. Or maybe by getting on the show, nobody will pull the lever.
That's right.
It could go either way with us.
So, hey, I did want to say that somebody messaged me and they sent me like the election code, and they said that, oh, good grief, on, they sent me some law. I don't know.
On electioneering?
Yeah, on the electioneering thing. It says to remain within any such polling place or within a radius of 600 feet of the entrance of any such polling place, except when exercising the right to vote after having been directed by an election commissioner, law enforcement officer, registrar, or deputy registrar to leave the premises or area of the polling place. And they sent me a ton of other stuff, but in the end, they said he's not guilty of electioneering.
Oh,
I'm thinking that if he left.
Oh, if he left, okay. Well, I guess if he's going to struggle and fight the sheriff's deputies, then he would be guilty. I don't know.
I think the moral of the story is you're good to go to electioneer until you get run off.
You get run off. There's no teeth to the law, so just go do what you want to. Well, and maybe Skylar knew that. Maybe that's why he was buddying up to Skylar. Who knows?
Well,
he is the DA. He knows law.
That goes to us being lawless.
Yeah, and okay, so we'll have to dig into that some more. Mr. Ferris says RPEC. Shall we do the city council first or torture everybody with the RPEC? It's a toss-up.
I don't know. It's your call, because I was a willing participant of the RPEC debacle, and I don't know. It's hard for me to. This one's difficult for me. I don't know why, but it is.
Well, y'all vote in the comments while we're sitting here ad-libbing for a few minutes. What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear about the Republican Executive Committee fireworks? Because yes, there were some. Or do we want to talk about the city council and the Tower of Taxes? Y'all let us know in the comments. We got to hear in the comments, or we're just going to sit here and ramble on until y'all sign off.
Well, I see you even hooked me when you said Tower of Taxes. That just sounds ominous.
Well, and again, give full credit to Shane Cheatham. I think he's the one that coined that phrase. Let's see. Bryn Modica says RPEC. Jessica Langley says RPEC. Mary Ellen says City. Mary Ellen, recruit a couple more people because we've got Michael Ferris that wants to do the RPEC. Okay, everybody's saying RPEC. All right. Let's go through RPEC. And just so y'all know, that's the Republican Parish Executive Committee, or the Parish Executive Committee for the Republicans, or the Bossier Parish Republicans, whatever, to satisfy Mr. Robert H. Wright. And see, I knew you were going to ask, Robert. That's why I said all of that. It is, I have spelled it out, and I'm not doing it again. Okay. So I'm going to start clicking buttons behind the scenes here and see if I can get this to get our handy dandy video thing working. So why don't you, Duke, explain the basics of the RPEC, just real brief, and what happened, or what was the meeting about last night?
Okay, so every first Monday of the month, the Republican Parish Executive Committee, has our meeting. And in that meeting, members that are elected by the Republicans of Bossier Parish, they bring motions to, do different things, to endorse people, censure people, to take positions on issues, all that stuff. And I am the current chairman of the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee. I've been on the PEC for quite a long time, and I know it grates on Robert Wright when you say PEC. He says, "What is a PEC?"
Hey, it's in the statute.
I'm probably going to continue to say it just so that it annoys Robert Wright. Robert's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. Robert's been around Republican party politics for a long time. We disagree on a lot of things, but we agree on a lot of things as well. That said, so we have this PEC meeting. It's probably when you have party politics things, for folks that are not involved in it at the local levels, you hear about the Republican parish or the Republican Women of Bossier and all that. Well, those are not the governing bodies of the parish politics. Your parish executive committees, and that even breaks down to the Democrat executive committees. They're they're the governing body of everything that's Republican in that parish, and that's what the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee is. I'm the current chairman.
Right.
There's a long, convoluted thing that ended up in me being the chairman, for what that's worth. And up to this point, it's been non-confrontational. But at this meeting, we had an interesting thing that took place in that we had two RPEC members that were opposing each other for a police jury contest.
Right.
And, that required me as the chair, because I'm not biased in that. I mean, I'm not unbiased in that race. I am biased. I have taken a side, so I had to recuse the chair. I had to yield the chair.
Right.
And I yielded the chair to Robert Wright, who did a fine job in taking over the meeting and running it from that point. I made a mistake. I acknowledge I made a mistake even in that process, because anyway, I made a big mistake there, and I apologize to the person that I made that mistake to. But with that being said, I recused the chair. Robert Wright took over, and the rub here, to explain the inside ball for folks, is that it takes, to get an endorsement of the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, it takes 2/3 vote of the membership present. Well, someone, calling for the agenda ahead of time, was seeking to get the endorsement for one candidate in the police jury race. So that was going to be on the agenda. Well, I was going to oppose that, so I recused the chair because I knew I was going to oppose that.
So let's pause right there. Val Baker says, where do you have those meetings? So the current meetings are held at Ralph and Kaku's. Is there a set schedule for them?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's every first Monday of the month. And again, I will take responsibility and acknowledge that as the chairman, we haven't done a good job since becoming the chairman of announcing when our meetings are being held. That the blame solely lies on me of us not putting it out there the way that it should, as well as some other shortcomings on posting the agendas. I will take responsibility for that as well. As chairman, that's my responsibility, and I've not done a good job of doing that.
All right, so I'm just clicking through real quick. I don't really know if we want to play all of these. I'll actually have the video, the complete full nearly 2-hour video ready in a day or two and post the whole video just for the heck of it. But I do want to point out that there were several candidates there for office, and they were each given the opportunity to speak. So there was Stacy Mellerin. I think she's running for Bessie Board. Pam Glorioso, I think she's running for one of the police jury seats. Juliana Parks, of course, she's running for the District 5 police jury seat. Chris Marsiglia was there. Keith Sutton was there. He's running for what? Police jury 12, I think.
I think. I don't remember what the district number is, but he's running against Mac Plummer.
Okay, yeah, one of those districts out there. Of course, Andy Modica was there. Let's see if I can get. There's that was Juliana. There's Keith. There's Chris Marsiglia. There's Andy. He was there and he spoke. Barry Butler was there, who was also a member of the PEC. And then there's the point where you are going to yield the chair to Robert H. Wright. Yeah, Robert J. Wright's the radio guy. Robert H. Wright is, well, our Republican friend.
Numerous people are asking what time. It's 6 p.m. every first Monday of the month. And it's 6 p.m.
Yeah, okay. So, and it is, there's been some debate back and forth when I was on the PEC and a couple other members, but it is an open meeting, so it is open to anyone that wants to attend. That doesn't necessarily mean that you get to speak, but you can go attend and at least listen in and participate in some respect. Okay, let's see. Michael Ferris says District 12. Okay, so there is so much here that I'm just gonna pick. I'm gonna pick a spot to go to.
Yeah, pick a spot and to give the lay of the land. So one of the members, typically when the PEC has, I shouldn't say typically because it doesn't happen that often, but when you have a issue of two members on this body that are both Republicans and are going to run against each other, it's kind of one of those things that you're kind of not going to really engage on that. You're not going to pick one side or the other. And besides the fact that it is almost impossible that you're going to get 2/3, because again, the bylaws say that, you got to have 2/3 of the members to get an endorsement. Well, that's almost unheard of. So I'll start out why this is an issue that one person would seek to get an endorsement of this body when it's almost an impossibility that you would get 2/3 in the first place. So it begs the question, why would you even try to do it in the first place?
Right. Okay. So I'm going to queue up to, this is the spot where Rusty Lombardino makes the motion to endorse Juliana. Now, I want to say there were also some other motions to endorse some of the other candidates there who were not PEC members, and it was pretty much unanimous endorsements on that.
Yep.
This is the part where Rusty chooses to make a motion to endorse Juliana Parks, who is running for re-election. She was appointed when the seat was vacated in the District 5 race against Barry Butler, who was also on the PEC, and he's running for the District 5 seat. So here we go. Hit play.
Yes, sir. I think we should endorse Juliana Parks. Okay, we have a motion to endorse Juliana Parks. Do we have a second somewhere? Okay, Danny's got a second right there. Any discussion?
Robert?
Excuse me?
I'd like to make a motion to amend.
Okay, we have a motion to amend, yes, sir.
I'd like to amend this motion to a motion of censure of Juliana Parks.
Okay, we have a motion to censor Juliana Parks on.
All right. So explain what just transpired there. Rusty made the motion. You made the motion to amend Rusty's motion.
Yeah, so the RPEC is governed by Robert's Rules of Order, and if a lot of you are not familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, there's a lot of different motions that can be made, and so if Team Juliana Parks, is going to seek the endorsement of Juliana Parks, when you've got two members of this body, if you're gonna try it and you're gonna go for it, it opens up the table. It opens things up. So, I couldn't chair this, so I had recused the chair and turned it over to Robert Wright, and Robert Wright officiated the meeting from that point forward. And when Rusty made the motion to endorse Juliana Parks, and he got a second, I made a motion to amend, which is a proper motion per Robert's Rules of Order, to amend his motion to change it to a motion of censure. And
all right. When that happens, that means your motion to amend, correct me if I'm wrong, takes precedence over the initial motion. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
And there is a difference between the two motions. A motion to endorse by our bylaws takes 2/3, but a motion to censure, as governed by Robert's rules, only requires a simple majority. So if you're going to make, what happened after this, if you're going to make a motion for censure, there needs to be justification for it, right?
Right. And,
I mean, if
yeah, you got to have a reason why.
You got to have a reason why. You just don't willy-nilly make a motion to censure. And I can promise you, making a motion to censure is not what I wanted to do. It was not in my cards. But
well, because censure is basically, saying, hey, we as a body don't agree with something you've done or said. Is that pretty much it?
It's almost like saying you're freaking dead to us.
Okay. I was trying to be nice, but
Yeah, you were, but it's almost like saying you're dead to us.
It's not just a slap on the wrist per se, as far as an organization goes.
Yeah. So if you make the charge for censure, you've got to be able to back it up. And, look, we do a show, and in addition to that show, we have our own personal opinions. And as a Republican and somebody who's been involved in party politics, I see the party going sideways. I see it moderating. Look, I appreciate my moderate and liberal friends. We have a difference of, opinion. But what I don't agree with is when people who are moderate and liberal want to try to say, oh, I'm a Republican, when they don't believe in Republican values or whatsoever. Say what you really believe. And in this case, in my opinion, and it's not just in Bossier, but I will say this, across the country, we have a lot of people, they're not Republicans. They don't believe in limited government, but they're actually moderates and liberals, but they're saying they're Republicans, they're saying they're conservative, they're saying they're limited government when they're not that at all. And the only reason they're doing it is to maintain power or to get elected. One or the other.
Well, and look, we've heard it from multiple practically every candidate. They're all Christian conservative Republicans. That's the new catchphrase now. Christian conservatives, not just conservatives, not just Republicans. And look, nothing wrong with being a Christian. I'm not saying that before we get any hate mail for it, and nothing wrong with saying you're a conservative. The problem is actually being a conservative. And I've said ad nauseum, most Republicans can't even define what it means to be a conservative. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so back to the meeting. You were prepared for this, correct?
I was prepared. So I did know that they were going to attempt to endorse Juliana Parks. And you'll see here in just a moment, Juliana Parks will say, she will attest that she had no idea Yet that stands in stark contrast to the solicitation of members of the PEC to endorse her. How can you stand up here and say that you had no idea that, it was going to be sought for you to be endorsed when you were soliciting members to endorse you, to support and vote for you to endorse you? So that's fine, and you can call me a liar, you can say whatever you want to say, but all right. So I prepared for it. I got
All right.
ready, and I developed a case to back up a call for censorship.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play for a few minutes. Now, this is several minutes long, so I'm going to play it for a few minutes, and then we may get you to kind of give us the summary version, because this meeting I've got an hour and 53 minutes of video. We're not going to play it all, obviously. So
Nope.
I'm going to hit play for a minute, and then we'll pause. I'll pick a point and pause, and we'll just let you give us a summary version of that.
Some notes, because this is going to be a little long. Mr. Chairman, it brings me no pleasure to bring this motion, and I hoped we would avoid tearing this body apart, but that has basically been the goal since the start of the PEC's term. I made this motion based on multiple facts that I intend to present to this body that reflect a pattern. Juliana's appointment to a vacant seat was made on August 11, 2020, whereas I rose to object that it was in violation of our bylaws and statute, to which Juliana contended it was valid and legal. At that meeting, Suzanne Craig announced she had a qualified resident of that district who wished to fill the seat, but who couldn't be present at the time. RS 18444, Chapter 5, Section 2B reads as follows: a vacancy in the membership left by a representative of a district shall be filled by a qualified resident of the district appointed by the Parish Executive Committee. If no qualified resident of the district will accept a membership, the committee may appoint any qualified resident of the parish to fill the vacancy. Consideration of the qualified resident of the district who wanted the seat was ignored.
Okay, so let's stop there.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to choke everybody to death and bore them with this. I mean, the long and short of it, I mean, I'm gonna give Juliana more time here to articulate her position, which is basically that everything I said was a lie. But everything that I read from the state law and the state constitution. I literally read in every argument that I made, and I'm going to summarize it all, and Rex, you'll have to pick a point to jump forward to this. But basically what I said was historically we had a vacancy on the PEC. Juliana sought to seek that vacancy. The bylaws say that if no one who is a resident of that district wants to hold the seat, then you can appoint someone outside of that. Suzanne Craig, who was formerly on the PEC, who's passed now, she said she had someone that wanted the seat. The PEC at that time ignored that request and appointed Juliana Parks. I objected. Juliana Parks was put in the position. Fast forward to other issues. One, there was a proposal put forward to call for by the Republican Parish Executive Committee, calling on the Ethics Board to investigate David Montgomery and Manchac regarding the water deal going to the port. Now, Juliana Parks, you'll see in just a little while, articulates that she spends it and says that, she rose in opposition for a reason other than what it actually was. The actual reason was the fact that both David Montgomery and Manchac took a job and become an employer of the port, never disclosed it to who they have a contractual obligation with, Bossier City. It wasn't learned until in the middle of a council meeting that they actually were working for both people, that they were in the middle of trying to negotiate a contract between the two that would benefit them. They didn't disclose it. It was learned through deliberations in the council meeting. David Montgomery himself said, hey, we've been working on this forever. All the other councilmen were kind of looking at each other. And in fact, I think we even sent a public information request asking for any prior meetings where there were any deliberations regarding this, to which we got a response from the city attorney saying that there was none. So when Juliana Parks says at this RPEC meeting that she rose in opposition, that the PEC shouldn't take it, she can say what she wants to say, but the truth of the matter is she was carrying the water for David Montgomery. That was what she was doing. And the reality is what, a lot of people are scared to file an ethics complaint and to ask for an investigatory body to investigate issues of ethics. And if they can't go to an elected body like the Republican Parish Executive Committee, for example, and ask for them as a body to take a position and seek to have transparency in government, who can they go to if they're fearful? Who can they go to? Well, Juliana Parks stood in opposition to that. In fact, you know what she said? She said, I don't want to cast, what was it? I don't want to cast false judgment or
bear false witness. Bear false witness.
Yeah. Didn't want to bear false witness.
Yeah. Which was the title of one of our shows, I believe.
It was. And in this meeting, she ends up, ultimately, she addresses it and completely spins it. She's a good politician. I'll give her credit.
Okay, so a couple other things that you went down your laundry list with were the Butch Ford situation and what else? The library board and some other things, right?
Yeah. The Butch Ford situation. And a lot of you may recall from a previous show where, and we highlighted the fact that the Bossier Parish Police Jury, and arguably my speech wasn't a condemnation of just Juliana Parks. It was a condemnation of the whole police jury and, their violations of the law. But the point was, Juliana Parks was the subject of this. She's a police juror. She participated in these things. And, she was seeking the endorsement. So it's justified to raise all these issues. Well, as it would turn out, the state law requires that if you're going to be the parish administrator, you have to be a registered voter of Bossier Parish. And to be a registered voter of Bossier Parish, you have to have a domicile in Bossier Parish, a homestead exemption, to which we shared on this show. Bobby Evanston and them had investigated and determined that he did not, in fact, have homestead exemption in this parish.
Okay, so you go down this whole laundry list, and again, I'm not going to play it because I think it was about 8 minutes long. I want to point out, though, I want to jump to the 26-minute mark in the video where Rimmer clarifies or enlightens us about this homestead exemption deal. So I'm going to play that real quick.
Today, the requirements of being a resident of Bossier Parish as required is still unresolved, to my knowledge.
It's wrong. He has received his homestead exemption. He has received it. I'm just
point of order. I have
yeah.
All right, so I'll say the little banner back and forth there, but I did verify today that since we reported on that through our public information request, that interestingly enough, Butch has received his homestead exemption for the property in Bistineau that was revoked or whatever you want to call it from the tax assessor's office. But there's some controversy to that. There's some, I don't have all the facts yet, but there's some potential controversy with him receiving the homestead exemption now. And as Juliana points out in here, there's some controversy around the whole thing that we'll let her say here in just a minute.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. I cited January of 2023 as his appointment to be the parish administrator. And in reality, he actually was appointed almost a year before that. And you want to remember that date because the police jurors, and in fact, even Juliana Parks, contend that they did nothing wrong and everything that they did was all legal and following the law. And although, again, my motion to censure, I'm contending that no, that's not on the up and up. No, you knowingly violated the law. And not just that, also, we went into the library board and the appointment of police jurors, staffing the complete library board.
Yeah, well, and look, just stay tuned, folks, because here in a little bit, you're going to hear Doug Rimmer not basically, admit that the police jury knowingly broke the law when they appointed him, period, full stop. All right, so let's see. All right, so yeah, here's the point where you continue about the library board. You mentioned that, so we won't go. Let's listen to a little bit from Juliana for just a minute or two where she starts her rebuttal. To be slightly fair, anyway, we'll listen to her for a minute.
I don't even know where to start. Oh, okay, that's what we like to do.
No, hang on. We're going to address our comments to the chair. Okay, be back and forth. We'll give everybody a chance to have their piece of their say.
I would say, if we're talking about sanctions, it sounds like we need to sanction the jury, not one person that's been on the jury for 2 years.
Okay.
I think it sounds like, because I know this thing's been going on for quite a while.
So, point of order, Mr. Chair. It seems
Hang on,
it doesn't have the floor.
Hang on, John. Yes, sir.
Speaking out of turn, if this is going to...
So the point John Burns was making right there, which is funny because that's Doug Rimmer sitting right, taxman Doug Rimmer, police juror, sitting right beside him. He's got Juliana Parks, let's see, Chris Marsiglia, and Tom Salzer was sitting down there. All these police jurors right there. And John Burns was just basically trying to help Juliana, but throwing them under the bus, saying, hey, wait a minute, it's the police jury's fault.
Yeah, why are we picking on just Juliana? Why? I mean, because it's the whole police jury that's basically screwed up, and it shouldn't be just Juliana. But here's the thing: it was only Juliana that was there seeking an endorsement that she said she had no knowledge of. But yet, how is it that she was making phone calls to other members because they were calling me saying, "Hey, Juliana's trying to get the endorsement."
Right.
I mean, so how can you have your cake and eat it too? But then you're going to stand up here and tell everybody that, you had no idea. You're deaf, dumb, and stupid.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you mentioned that, so I'll skip on by that part. Let's see, 34. Let me get, okay. I don't even know where to begin. I'm going to skip up to this part. I'm going to hit play and we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, the only person that saw that to be endorsed here is Juliana Parks, which, is a front to me because we have two candidates that are on this body running against each other, and nobody's made a motion to endorse Barry Butler. We wouldn't have done that and not tried to divide this body. But with that being said, to your point, John Burns, the AG has weighed in on this. In fact, let me read you the AG's words. The AG says, and it's a question, can the members of my local governing authority appoint themselves as members of the Library Board of Control? No, with a period. Louisiana dual office.
Now, I want to interrupt you right there. So they had contended that the AG hadn't ruled on that, right?
Yeah, they had contended not, and ultimately when they accused anybody that opposed, now all of y'all watching, over 100 and something people watching, all of your police jurors there basically said that they're the only people who could be on the library board to oppose the woke agenda that was put forward. They're the only ones capable of doing that. Nobody else is capable of doing that.
Oh, yeah. Y'all wouldn't believe, this is almost a direct quote. I'm only paraphrasing slightly because we have the video. You wouldn't believe what they found when they appointed themselves to the library board and they had to get rid of the library director. You wouldn't believe what that woke person was doing to the children. Somebody please think of the children.
And they just can't believe that anybody would oppose that they and not anyone else, as if there's no one else in the public out there that would oppose the woke agenda. They're the only ones that would oppose the woke agenda. That is their defense for raiding the library board.
Yeah. I hate to say it, Jeremy Bradford, they got rid of your ass too, and apparently you were part of the woke agenda too. Maybe you didn't know that, but yeah. All right.
Now you do. You're on notice.
Now you do. Okay. So let's see. Now, our good buddy Rusty, never a dull moment with Rusty, he says, well, he brings up the point, well, gosh, Duke, that wasn't fair because who knows if somebody was going to nominate Barry or not. So let's hear from that.
This issue before we can even bring up endorsing Barry. So it's been short-circuited, so he don't know if somebody's going to endorse Barry or not.
Well, understand, but these are how the motions came.
So you didn't have a little magic 8-ball there to know whether Mike Collier was going to make a motion to endorse Barry. I don't know. I'm just picking.
Well, I will make no bones about it. I'm on Team Barry Butler, and I think Juliana Parks is unethical. I do. So no, but what I can tell you is that Team Barry Butler was not going to seek the endorsement of Barry Butler because Barry Butler couldn't get 2/3 of the vote because the PEC is evenly split. But the question is, Team Parks knows that they couldn't get 2/3 of the vote, that it was evenly split, but yet they tried to do it anyway. So it begs the question again, why would you even do it in the first place? Except for you wanted to disrupt the Republican Party, disrupt the group and the party. That was your goal. Well, bam, you're successful. You did it.
I need to point out, if y'all haven't noticed from the video already, I've made a joke about this, but I thought it was a dodgeball game going on because one side, half the PEC and guests were sitting on one side of the room and the other half were on the other side. And there was nobody in the middle. Of course, nobody wanted to be on the camera, but it's not like I wasn't panning back and forth, So it was, nothing short of a dodgeball game. All right.
So let's cut to the chase of the most consequential parts of this whole meeting, because otherwise it's just wonky stuff that people are bored with and they really want to hear about probably city council stuff. But there were some consequential things.
Yeah, I want to point out one thing and we'll skip down. So Juliana mentions, is censure even in the bylaws?
We need to deal with that first.
Can you censure somebody instead of? It's not in the bylaws.
That doesn't have to be. It's in Robert's Rules of Order. It takes a majority vote to do that. Is there?
Okay, so just wanted to point that out. We'll jump on down to Bamberg and mentions taking the endorsements off the table, and Rusty mentions for the first time withdrawing his motion, and there's some commentary from Juliana, and then we'll get to Rusty actually trying to get his motion withdrawn.
Let's handle that right now. Let's just take the endorsements off the table, take the censorship off the table, and withdraw my motion.
I don't want to because he's just said a bunch of lies about me and I don't get to respond.
Marsha.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on.
I just said, you heard her. I said a bunch of lies. And one of those lies is about, the appointment of a parish administrator that was not a registered voter of Bossier Parish and not, homestead exemption. I mean, I'm just a liar, Rex. What can I say?
You had papers to back up all of your lies too.
State constitution even dating back to the 1920s.
Yeah. And Jeremy Bradford says, let's get honest. It's really all about the $8 million budget. Oh, no, it's not, Jeremy, you woke son of a gun, because Juliana addresses the money part of it too. And the $30 million animal control deal, but we'll get to that. All right. So, let's skip to the part where Rusty actually does withdraw his motion. Let me get my pointer over here.
Everybody got to be all on the same page? Well,
If I withdraw my motion, okay, to endorse Juliana, okay, is the motion for whatever it is, sedition,
See what
Sedition.
we're talking about?
May as well
No,
be
sir, if you
sedition.
withdraw your motion, it's over.
Oh, all right. So explain real quickly how that works for the folks that don't know parliamentary procedure.
A secondary motion, a motion to censure or a motion to amend, is actually a motion to amend to convert the original motion to a motion of censure. If the original motion is withdrawn, the whole thing is dead. It's over with, ended. And at that point, look, they had an uphill climb. They had to get 2/3 to get an endorsement of Juliana, which they couldn't get. It wasn't even going to happen. But a motion to censure, that's only a simple majority. That was reachable and it was potentially there. And in fact, the case, while Juliana stood there and called me a liar on everything that I pointed out, they ended up making the case acknowledging that what I was saying was true. In fact, they acknowledged that they even broke the law later on.
Yeah.
Acknowledged it.
We're going to get to that here in just a minute. All right. So I want to roll through a couple of these. Juliana did respond. Again, I will get the entire video posted so y'all can watch it for full context. The audio is not great, but it's, you can understand. So Juliana starts responding to Duke. And one of the important points that she makes here in just a minute is that she follows the rules to do the right thing. So y'all listen up here for about 30 seconds or so.
Questions, because like I said in my speech, I always try to do the right thing and follow the rules. I study the rules very hard to make sure that I do follow them. Okay, appointment to the PEC. Again, just like you said, why don't we have the whole jury here? Why are you censuring me for something that the PEC did? You had the elected...
I'll remind you that's been pulled off the table, but we do want to give you a chance to respond.
Right. So,
all right, so let me ask you, does she have a point?
Well, I think I actually, when I spoke, I said that that didn't rise to the level of censure. I think I said that, but I initially said that it goes to a pattern. It goes to a pattern, and the pattern is that you're willing to bend the law, you're willing to skirt the law. Again, when she was appointed to the PEC, there was somebody that was willing to take the seat that lived in the district, but oh no, that was ignored, and she was willing to take that seat. Look, she's an attorney. She is she should know better, right?
You would think
she should know better. I'm not an attorney. They tell me all the time.
And I'm not an attorney either. I just try to play one every now and then on Facebook. But either way, yeah, she should know. They tried to blame a lot of this on Patrick Jackson, which I don't disagree with. But, at some point, how can you keep blaming the other kid for getting in the cookie jar when you're getting in the cookie jar with the kid? So
Juliana she's being picked on. She's always, everybody else is the bully. She's always being bullied.
Got to play the victim card. Marsha. All right, here we go. So here's where she talks about her conflicts with the city and the sheriff.
let's see. The sheriff and the city of Bossier, neither one receives police jury funds at all. Obviously, I researched this very carefully before I ever decided to run for police jury to make sure that neither of those things was in conflict, and they aren't. They're completely separate elected entities, and they do not get money from the police jury.
Okay. I'm just curious. I may be wrong, but I think John Settle highlighted this in detail in the past, but I think all the monies that end up ultimately going to the sheriff's office flow through the police jury. I'm pretty confident that they do. And as for, the conflict of interest regarding the city, what she's talking about, because I alleged what I said was that, she doesn't acknowledge a conflict of interest with her being the attorney for the sheriff's office and sitting on the police jury when monies flow through the police jury to the sheriff's office. No, there's no conflict there. How could you? Not at all. But I'm just wondering, if you go down to city court where her husband is the judge in city court, I'm just wondering, when you go down there, are there sheriff's deputies or are there Bossier City policemen sitting right there at the entrance? I mean, have you been in City Hall? I'm just wondering, are those Bossier sheriff's deputies or are they Bossier City policemen?
Good question. Well, let's see. Let's back up to the Benton courthouse. I think those were sheriff's deputies on the alleged incident today. It was
Yeah.
look. It
Well,
was
but
actually
that was in Benton. But
oh yeah,
okay,
wrong
let me take
courthouse.
another stab at it. Let me take another stab at it. Does she not practice in the 26 JDC?
That's
I mean,
probably true,
who funds the 26 JDC?
right? That's probably true. All right.
Isn't it the police jury?
Can't imagine that. It's all the same money. It's just a shell game. Okay. So let's move to her bearing false witness.
Because to me, that's bearing false witness, and I can't vote for that, which is in line with my values, and I stand by that. So let's see, what else? I was going to appoint Robert Berry back into the position. Well, that is a complete lie. Doug was actually the one who did the votes, and he said we had 4 or 5 different people who applied. You know, I know there was a colonel, there was a title attorney, Modica, there was the guy who was appointed who I didn't know, who didn't show up. And so the way that
all right, so let's stop right there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the PEC have some discussion at a prior meeting about the Robert Berry situation?
Yeah, in fact, I raised that issue and tried to get the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee to take a position and to move forward in calling for Robert Berry to, be removed as the representative of the Bossier Parish Police Jury on the Cypress District, to which Juliana and Rimmer argued. In fact, we could go back and we could pull it. It was the infamous recording where Doug Rimmer said, "Had we known, we wouldn't have." And lo and behold, we went back and found the records where it was actually Doug Rimmer that actually made the motion to appoint him.
Right.
Well, you did know.
Yeah, you did know. You're the one that did it. Now, I do want to back up for just a second. So, Weston, Marriott, and Val and Robert Wright are correcting us. It's the city marshals in the city court.
Yeah, but when you go in the door, immediately to the left, I don't think that's the city marshals. I'm pretty confident that that's the sheriff's department guys.
I can tell you that it is, and don't ask me how I know.
Yeah, and I'm pretty confident that when you go into the courtroom, you'll probably have the city marshals. But again, under what judicial district does the city attorney operate under? Riddle me that, Batman.
Okay, so let's jump ahead just a little bit to Juliana and term limits.
Term limits. Okay, so
whoa,
that is not true.
Stop. Mark Smith, thank you so much. Yes, you're right. In fact, I want to point this out. Thank you, Mark Smith. You are the greatest. I owe you a beer. Yeah, it's amazing that Mark Smith even knows that. Yes, Santi Park did sue me in the course of an election, and he sued me and my wife to try to drag me down in the middle of when I ran for the legislature and say that I didn't pay my bills. And you know what it was over? It was because my daughter and my wife were on a trip for a acting group. They were sequestered, per se, on a bus traveling to do this acting school. And while they were on that school, I want to point out they were forced to watch, as Juliana Parks describes, a woke video about gay and pro-gay and lesbian issues. So it's ironic that Juliana Parks would stand up here and articulate that she can't believe a Republican would be against them, taking over the library to prevent a woke ideology when her and her husband, prior to maybe not necessarily her, she wasn't on the case, prior to being a judge, had no problem in defending the interests of forcing, gay and lesbian stuff on a kid and a family being, locked in a school bus on an act thing. Yeah, Mark Smith, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Duke's not running for office, and well, she is. Okay, so here we go. So, look, Mark, it's real easy. Why wasn't Mark Smith at the meeting last night? I'm pretty sure he wasn't, unless he was being a little sneaky fly on the wall. And Mark, you can always scroll on by or go start your own show. All right, here we go. So,
thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Let's get to the Butch Ford debacle.
Being a registered voter, I don't know about that. I know that he is. From the time I checked it, he was a registered voter. I know that there has been a letter that has been reissued by Bobby Evanston that says that his homestead exemption has been reinstated. And as I understand it, there's some sort of investigation about all that because the tax assessor's wife had applied for a job, which she didn't get. And then all of this happens after that. So there's a little bit of drama.
Whoa, was she doing a little deflecting there?
Well, I find it interesting. She's been on the police jury for 2 years, and she knows that he was a registered voter. But how she's been on the police jury for 2 years and she knows that he was a registered voter? How is it that he didn't file homestead exemption until October or November
after the fact? So
way after the fact. How did she know?
Yeah, that doesn't negate the fact that when they appointed him, he was not a registered voter in the parish.
But Rex, I digress. It's just lies and innuendo by me. It's just all lies, right? Yeah. I'm just making all this up.
Okay, let's see here. So she just mentioned that. Let's get down to the library board. We'll skip ahead just a few seconds.
That was an interim thing because he was the parish administrator, and that's a very big organization that has lots of employees that can't just go to a halt while we go find somebody else to run the place. So yes, we did put our parish administrator in there. He didn't get any extra money. He just got a lot of extra work, and he covered that while we looked for another library director. We have a really great lady that's there now. Okay, as for the dual office holding, the dual office holding statute itself says that the parish can appoint its own members to boards that it creates. And it referred to determine which kind of boards you're talking about. It refers to the constitutional, the provision of the Constitution. It's clearly talking about police juries. I don't even think that Jeff Landry has issued an opinion about that. He just put some guidance on his website. And there are 2 prior AG opinions that say that it's okay. Regardless, an attorney general opinion is not law. And you can go to his website and it says, this is only opinion. It can change. It's not like a court opinion where it creates law. It's just his opinion. And his opinion is contradicted by 2 prior attorney generals and our parish attorney. So, and the State Police Jury Association, I believe. So,
and our next attorney general has said that we are correct.
Yes.
All right. So, do you want to unpack any of that? I mean, other than she's just rambling on and,
Well, she's rambling on, trying to muddy the water, but clearly, if anyone wants to go back, and Jeff Sadow highlighted this, with complete clarity in a recent article of his. And Jeff, if you're watching, you can share that article in the message, and you guys can go and you can find the links to the Louisiana Constitution. It was in the 20s. And clearly, and I read it at the beginning of this meeting, the only thing Juliana can say is that I'm just a liar, because she can't say that, he's right. So the only thing that she can say is that I'm a liar. But I read the Constitution, and I sourced it from Jeff Sadow in the 20s, where, the police jury founded the library board in the 30s. They did that under the Constitution of the 20s, which said that it would be appointed of, citizens, not police jurors, but citizens. And then I highlighted, oh, by the way, fast forward to, the current day statutes that govern, and the more modern Constitution of Louisiana that was in the 70s that again reiterates that the Library Board of Control should be of citizens. But at the end of all of this, I'm a liar that none of that is true, and that Jeff Landry, his office, I mean, and we know how the police jury feels about Jeff Landry, and we'll show even more because the police jurors here take a shot at Jeff Landry here in just a little while. But we know how they feel because they basically, thumb their nose at Jeff Landry's opinion, which I think in a minute we'll point out the Supreme Court of Louisiana said, you know what? You jackwagons on the police jury are wrong, you and your parish attorney, and Jeff Landry is correct.
Yeah, pretty much. And I want to point out that Jeremy Bradford is saying the whole library board is illegal. Oh, just wait a minute, Jeremy. So you former library people are on the hot seat right about now. Hold on just a minute. Let's hit play.
You saw, as Republicans in this room, if you saw what was going on and why we had to take it over, you would be shocked, okay? The fact that any Republican is against that is just shocking to me because there is clearly a national effort for liberals to take over.
Stop the press.
Why any Republican would be against us doing that is just shocking to me. She's basically saying that the only people that could do anything is them, the police jury.
And basically the ends justify the means.
None of you watching, y'all are not capable of comprehending what they're talking about. Only
and she literally says that. Yeah, she literally says that in one of her little deals.
But Rex, riddle me this. If there is and was a problem with the library, I mean, who appointed all those people?
Well, gee, might have been the police jury.
I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Educate us in the comments. Am I wrong? Who appointed all these people? Who appointed the ex library director?
If in
who
fact
held the position for like 15 or 20 years, I guess.
If there were all these problems, who is responsible for appointing the people that ushered in all these problems? Who owns that, Juliana?
Right. All right, here we go.
Libraries and to put stuff in there to tarnish the minds of our kids. And there were books that had been ordered by the prior library director that talk about, are targeted to 3-year-olds picking their sex. I mean, it was really bad. And so we had to appoint, it was very woke. And so because we are elected.
This, ladies and gentlemen, this is what's called wag the dog. They are telling you and justifying their actions by something that is appealing to you, to justify it.
Well,
that's what it is. Look at this right here, but don't look at this over here.
And I want to point out Val Baker's comment. I was going to say that. You're absolutely correct. They booted her out because she didn't live in Bossier Parish. How ironic. Or hypocritical. Depends on which way you want to look at it. That they have Butch Ford as administrator, not a resident or voter in Bossier Parish, but they boot the library lady out because she's not a resident of Bossier Parish. What the hell?
And look, I'm not saying that there's no validity to what she is articulating right there, but what I am going to say is where have they all been up until now? Why is it all of a sudden? Because look, I know that some people in that room, there's issues regarding books in schools. And I haven't heard a peep out of anybody regarding books in schools on some of those issues, but yet they sure wanted to pipe up tonight.
Now, I wonder if Taxman Doug Rimmer is hiding his head in his hands because he's so ashamed of the books, or, well, if he's hoping that her baffle him with BS will keep on holding up. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let's jump down to, there's so much here, but let's jump down to the $30 million animal shelter. maybe if our good friend Barry Butler is watching in the comments, he'll have some commentary on this.
I'm sure Pam can talk about this. A very nice facility for dogs, okay? It is full because they don't euthanize dogs, and they're trying to be a shelter that doesn't euthanize dogs. So they had dogs there for 4+ years, okay? So yes, it gets full when they're not leaving. We temporarily had to find a solution, and so we found a vet in town that was willing to take the dogs in. It was actually cheaper. We have looked at the price of building a facility, and there's no way that you could do it. In Baton Rouge, they have a no-kill shelter. Do you know how much money that costs? Like $30 million. And a lot of it is, you know, private funds that are being donated, but it's like $30 million from the.
I mean, look, I got to say she's probably right. I got to give her credit. She's probably right. And when it comes to having to have excess money to be able to spend on things, what they're not saying is that they can't. And they can't because they're so damn upside down on this sewer district thing that they dug us all into the hole in.
That is very true, and we've covered that with Barry Butler before.
Yeah. I mean, they won't acknowledge the elephant in the room is that they dug us a hole. Now, was Juliana there the whole time? No, she isn't, but she's thrown in with all of them. She has.
All right, so does anybody know, let me ask in the comments, Barry Butler just said the Bossier City budget 2023 annual for animal control is $881,000. Does anybody know, is she correct? Was that facility $30 million? I mean, I wish Pam Glorioso would have got up and said something or confirmed or denied it. Does anybody know?
Okay, right. Well, let's get through this.
Yeah,
the 4622 mark. I think that was a good one.
Well, that would be backing us up. 4622. Which comment were you thinking about? Shall we jump ahead to the term limits discussion and Tom Salzer that only the 3,400 out of 100,000?
This was just Yeah. Go.
All right, so we'll jump ahead to that. So just prior to this, for full context, Colonel David Crockett was at the meeting. He had explained for a couple of minutes about term limits, and this was Tom Salzer's response to that.
If it's okay to speak.
Absolutely.
How many signatures did you?
Hang on.
Was it like 3,300?
So we can hear you.
Well, I can talk a little louder.
Okay.
That's fine, no problem. 3,300?
3,400.
3,400. How many people you have in the whole parish?
Listen, if you want a challenge, I think.
Hang on.
No, I'm just saying.
Please make your comments to the. Please make your comments.
No, absolutely. No, this is good.
Hang on.
This is to everybody too.
That don't have the floor right now. Please make your comments to the chair.
My point being is I've heard terms of this is what the people of the parish want. Well, to me, 34 out of 130,000 is probably not a good. Now, could you get more? Don't know. But y'all put a big effort out there. Facebook, walk-in signing. That's great. You got 3,500. But I'm just saying, you make comments like that's the entire parish that wants 3,500 compared to 130,000 is a very small number.
As my grandmother used to say, don't let your mouth overload your ass. So well, let me point out something. So now we have it on record that the police jury is very well aware of the Bossier Term Limits Coalition and the news and social media presence. It's on record right there.
So here's what I want to say. Sobo, that's y'all's police jury.
Right.
Y'all know what to do. And on a personal note, as a term limits guy, I didn't get to respond to Mr. Salzer last night, but I'm going to respond to Mr. Salzer right now. So your efforts to minimize the will of the people and to diminish it and to basically dismiss, especially to dismiss the citizens of Bossier, which maybe in your infinite wisdom, you overlook the fact that we only petition citizens of Bossier. And we stopped at the point that we got the signatures. It's not that we couldn't have gotten more signatures. We very much could have gotten more signatures, but we got what was required. We turned it in. Not that we couldn't, but we just got what we needed. You know, I think the citizens of Bossier, your constituents, probably take offense to you being dismissive of them having a stake in the police jury. In fact, I heard one candidate for police jury that spoke at that meeting talking about the disparity in people that live in the city getting their fair share of stuff from the police jury. Well, you're a police juror from the city. That's your people. And you just basically pissed on all of them and said they didn't matter.
Right.
So, Sobo, that's your guy.
Yeah.
That's your guy right there.
Yeah. All right. So I don't even know where to go with that, but all right. So let's listen to Julie. Oh, well, first let's give Rusty Lombardino a little bit of credit here. He did point out that the term limits were for the city, not the parish.
What you got, Rusty?
The votes actually are for term limits for Bossier City.
Yes, sir.
Not Bossier Parish.
Right.
But let's also point out that everybody that's a resident of Bossier City is a resident of Bossier Parish.
Yeah, apparently Tom Salzer doesn't realize that as y'all's police juryman that, y'all are still members of Bossier Parish. I don't know. Y'all might want to let him know that y'all are members of the parish as well too. I don't know.
This is going to be interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Let's listen to a prediction from Juliana.
We as the police jury say we want to have a home rule charter, which only 2 places have it, Caddo and New Orleans.
Wait a minute. There's only 2 places.
Yeah.
Wait. Juliana,
Stop
lay
the
it
press
down the
again.
wall.
What?
Juliana,
Wait a minute. She
tell
might
him.
not be right. Something. All right. Here we go. Hold on. Listen up.
That's not true.
There's 40-something parishes that are police jury.
Clean it up, Tom.
There's 20.
Okay. So I want to say probably somewhere in the neighborhood 18 to 20.
But you have to redo everything, and the main thing that you do is you are not constrained by the statutory pay for police jurors. So that's why they do it, so they can get paid more money. So
Wait a minute. So wait. I'll let her predict, but hold on. Let's unravel a couple of things real quick. One, she said only 2, New Orleans and Caddo, which is blatantly false. And she just accused.
Why would she pick New Orleans and Caddo? Why would she try to portray that? Y'all tell me. There's over 100 of y'all. Why would she try to steer you to think that the only home rule charter places are Caddo and New Orleans? Why would she do that?
I don't know. Could it be demographics? Maybe there's more women in those parishes. I don't know.
Maybe she's trying to say something, without saying it.
Right. All right. Let's get on to her prediction.
I'm going to go ahead and call it that Mr. Duke Lowry, the second that we propose doing a home rule charter, he's going to say that it's because we want to pay ourselves more money. I called it. I got $100 on it. We're going to listen to
Okay. Is there anybody else? Yeah.
I love it. I gotta give her credit. That was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Okay.
Even I like that.
Yeah.
I did. Hey, I want to point out that I did say I'll take that bet.
Yes, you did. All right. Let's. Oh man. There's so much here. So let's listen to something. Let's listen to Rimmer for just a second.
The statements that were made today was because they had incorrect information, and they don't have enough information.
You didn't have enough or correct information, dude.
It's a shame that we have to go through this.
Oh, really?
Really?
Rehash these things.
You liar.
Long since decided. I think it would be a good thing if we could read our bylaws and understand what the rules are.
You didn't read the bylaws.
The one about the puppies, I do want to address this. That we have engaged. We had a problem with that because the hymn was always full at the city, so we tried to triage them out by our maintenance barn, and the state or the health department came out and said, "That's not good. You're going to have You can't do that. We said, no problem. We,
Okay, that's boring. You gotta jump
I
ahead
know.
to 109. What is he
All
talking
right, so
about?
he was talking about the animal shelter.
Oh, okay.
Barry's made that an issue, and apparently it's sticking with him.
I mean, look, it was an issue. I mean, they just are wanting to pawn off the responsibility to Bossier City and coin it all off to them and not deal with it. And
Yeah.
Barry Bossier's saying, let's deal with it. But, you know, whether Barry knows it or not, no, I know Barry knows it. They've dug themselves a hole with sewer.
Yeah, with sewer and
They
more.
ain't
All
got
right.
no money to do anything because they dug themselves a damn hole. But they
All right.
can't say that to everybody. So they got to say some other crap. He's lying.
All right, so before I jump to the 109, we got to hear Rimmer talk about he's been for term limits all of his life.
Keep going, keep going. We just don't want to, you're not getting, I just don't want to get it back and forth.
I got to say this. I've been for term limits all my life, okay? And being on the inside, this thing that you see, you know, when you're elected to office, I term limited myself when I was on the school board. I said when I was running, I'm going to run for one term. No, one term and I'm out. And that's exactly what I did.
Wait, listen.
But I don't want to get into it, but it is when you find out that the strength of the bureaucracy is really strengthened, we don't get to vote on those guys, but there has to be a balance. So
It's to strengthen the bureaucracy.
Was he talking about the parish attorney, Patrick Jackson?
I don't know what the hell he was talking about. Why would you want to strengthen the bureaucracy?
Well, no, I mean, I think that's what he was saying. He was saying that, you know, you don't realize how the strength of the bureaucracy until you get in there. And so therefore, you know, you would be for term limits before you got elected. But once you get elected, then you realize the strength of the bureaucracy. Then you're against term limits. I think that's what he was saying.
I don't know. It's all very confusing. He was trying to cover his ass.
He had to be talking about Patrick Jackson because they talked about Patrick Jackson.
It's got to be. Now, I want to point out something. So this is a sidebar for a second. Louis Bizarre says, talking about animals, did I see Jack going down the road the other day on Highway 2 with pigs in the back seat of his car? Now, Jack was in the comments earlier. Did you have pigs in your back seat, Jack? All right. So let's go on to Rimmer talking about the 109 mark. Rimmer talking about the Butch Ford homestead exemption deal. Here we go.
If we had more in-depth and correct information and updated information, these things are moving targets. To find out
they're moving targets, Duke.
There was an investigation. Some of the facts were true. The homestead exemption was denied, and they did more investigating, and they said, no, you know, you have a residence there. Also has a trailer there, and he's remodeling his residence. And they, you know, so the whole thing was basically should never have happened.
It was a lie.
But I want to say this: we did have a librarian. We said a senior librarian would assist with our temporary administrator. The interesting thing about it, we're looking for someone.
All right, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the good part, which is where you asked Doug Rimmer about what was Butch's status when he was appointed. All right, so this is the key deal here that...
Pay attention, folks. Pay attention to this right here, because up to this point, I'm nothing but a liar about breaking the law, and everything I said about the residency regarding the appointment of the parish administrator, library, all that crap. I don't know. You guys, you listen to this.
Right,
you
here
be
we
the
go.
judge.
Was Butch Ford a resident and voter in Bossier Parish when he was appointed to be the parish administrator?
I think the question's for you, Doug. Okay.
The Police Security Policy and Procedure Manual calls for the application to be filled out, and I wonder what that's about. We follow the practice that going to we were advised that it was legal to hire someone and give them time to move to and to become a voter and a resident. It wasn't at that time. But my understanding that it was that it was at the time.
Bingo. Gotcha. Did y'all catch that, everybody?
It was my understanding that he was not.
Yeah, and not just that. Even right before what he said, that we were advised that they could give him time.
They could.
I don't think in the statute it says you can give them time.
No, there's one word. It says shall, and we hear about that word all the time. That how it controls everything. Shall. It's the end of the world. If it says shall, by gosh, there's no question. There's no whatever. Unless you get to breaking the law on the police jury, and hey, we understand it means something different than shall. It means that well, we'll give time, and maybe whenever we get around to it.
All right, Michael Ferris says that balloon at the top of the screen is irking me. It was me too, but I didn't have my blow dart gun to pop it. All right. Here is Juliana trying to do a little cover their rear ends.
As I explained earlier, the police jury is advised by the parish attorney. The parish attorney advised us that he met all of the requirements. He stated to us that the statute was referring to in many other.
So basically, she's throwing Patrick Jackson under the bus. She's an attorney. She should have read the statute. But like she said, she doesn't get paid to do that. That would be like, she literally said, that would be like asking Philip Rogers to develop houses for the police jury for free or do construction for free.
But wait a minute. Didn't she say earlier that everything I was saying was a lie?
Well, yeah, but you can just ignore that.
Yeah, but everything I said was a lie, but yet Doug Rimmer just confirmed one of the key points that I was making, that they...
Well, you're supposed to forget about that part of the conversation, Duke.
Yeah, no, but she's telling everybody that I'm not telling the truth, and I was telling the truth, and Doug Rimmer confirmed I was telling the truth.
Right. He did. Period. So full stop.
Either one of us is right or one of us is wrong. But now she's saying, okay, wait a minute. No, the parish attorney told us.
Now, it gets even better because our good friend that we just had on, Andy Modica, asked a very good question. Here we go.
Could you have Ms. Parks tell us a statement she made earlier that she is required to take the advice of the parish attorney? She said that earlier. She's required. Actually, the police jury is required to take that. And my second question was, how much time were y'all planning on giving Butch Ford in order for him to move into Roche Parish?
Now, I'm going to jump in. I'm not.
Just how much time? I mean,
before what does the statute say? How much time by law should you give him? Should you give somebody to break the law?
I didn't read anywhere where it said, it's your prerogative. Maybe by the time he retired, he had to relocate, but I don't know. I'm not an attorney. Juliana is.
Well, and look, again, I want to point out, if Butch wasn't paid with tax dollars and a public official, I wouldn't care about his homestead exemption one way or the other. The point is not his personal, where he's living or what kind of shape the house is in. He can live like he wants, except for the fact that it makes a difference whether our public body and government officials are following the law. That's the big deal, like we asked at the beginning of the show.
And when you call them out, even like Jeff Sadow in his in-depth reporting on the Library Board of Control, we reported on the Butch Ford issue. And when we call out that they're not following the law, we're all liars. It's not true.
Yeah.
And then they run for office and, they don't want to be held to account to not following the law. I don't know. Maybe I should give credit to Juliana for saying, look, we have to listen to, and Andy Modica's pointed out, we have to listen to the parish attorney. Whatever he tells us, whether it's right or wrong, we can't have a brain for ourselves. In fact, y'all all, by virtue of electing us, elect the parish attorney. Lawfare. We've talked about it before.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue on here for a minute.
I'm not an attorney, but I do play on TV. But anyway, my understanding, y'all help me correct, that's an opinion y'all could not go by, am I correct? Yes, so it's an attorney's opinion. They could choose to go another way, and they could get another attorney's opinion.
All right, let's skip. Hold on.
Rely on the advice of the parish attorney.
But that's not what you said.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we got that. We understand that. Sometimes.
Good for him.
You know.
That's not what you said.
That's not what you said. So, and Doug's almost tripping trying to hurry up and get up there to cover their asses some more. Hold on.
That it's an opinion, and they could choose to go another way. Yes.
There's been a lot of bad choice of words in there, and but how long? Well, part of it was that this wasn't required of us initially, but Butch had this property. In fact, he had more than one piece of property, but he had planned to come over and was in the process of remodeling that camp of his, and actually had and I believe it's still there, has a trailer there, and was selling his house over in Shreveport. So it wasn't talked about how long, but we just knew that it was going to be imminent. And so I don't have
just go on in hand. Remember the shovel to keep digging.
Oh, guys, if y'all are still hanging in here, don't look. It just keeps getting better. I mean, this isn't even close to being over. It just gets better and better and better.
No. All right. So let's listen to Juliana talk about the tax assessor, Bobby Evanston.
He's under investigation because he advised the people in his office to go and take pictures of the wrong thing. So.
All right. Let's hear that again.
He's under investigation because he advised the people in his office to go and take pictures of the wrong thing.
So it's Bobby's fault that Butch wasn't living there legally.
No, but what I heard her say was Bobby Edmiston, the tax assessor, Juliana Parks is saying that Bobby Edmiston, the tax assessor of Bossier Parish, is under investigation because he advised his people to go take pictures of the wrong property that Butch Ford was claiming or falsely claiming homestead exemption on, which I want to point out, Doug Rimmer already said they acknowledged that he wasn't a resident, wasn't a registered voter, but that was going to give him time to change that. They did it in early 2022. Butch Ford didn't even get around to trying to make a change until late 2022, October, November, before he even bothered to even try to do anything about it. He had already got the nod from, obviously the police jury doesn't have a brain, but the parish attorney that, hey, it's all okay. We'll just grease the skids here.
Right. All right. Now let's hear a little dialogue from Juliana again about, well, voter registration versus where he lives.
He lives in the parish. I was just going to say the statute doesn't say he has to live in the parish. It says he's a registered voter. Well, he has to live in the parish.
Hang on. One at a time, Juliet. Hang on. Stop. Your house will be in order.
Marcia, it's not our fight. He has to be a registered voter, right? To be a registered voter, he has to what?
Have a residency in the parish.
Oh, but that's not their fight, even though, I mean, I'm putting a few words in their mouth. They knew it wasn't true.
They knew he wasn't a resident of the parish and appointed him anyway. So they acknowledged that they broke the law. They acknowledged that they were knowingly allowing the law to be broke. So I'm a liar.
You're a liar. Hey, side note, I wonder what Keith Sutton's thinking right there.
And he's really running for this crap? He's thinking, oh my God.
You just thought you wanted to run for this. All right, here we go. All right.
Keith, your decision is whether you're going to be standing with them having to cover, all that crap.
All right, let's hear from Tom Salzer on the AG.
Ponders the question, if the police jury is so corrupt and the administrator is breaking every law, then where in the hell is the Attorney General and not doing his job?
Good question.
I know.
Hang on. Anybody get
because actually the DA's office.
Excuse me. One at a time, Mr. Womack, do you want to?
I'll just answer the
Go ahead.
question. I
Speak
believe
to
the
the issue.
well, it's simple. DA, right? Am I wrong? Is the
Go ahead,
DA
Tom.
supposed to?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, is the DA supposed to handle that? In other words, the DA.
All right. So Salzer's contention is, oh, well, it's got to be the DA, the AG's fault, the Attorney General's fault. The DA is actually the one who prosecutes that by law, by statute, initially, or is charged with prosecuting that. So I don't know if you caught this, Duke, but listen to this part from Rimmer where he says the DA questioned him.
It's helping is the DA has had the investigators have had it. In fact, they interviewed me. And
Right.
Get everything straightened out.
I think it goes through the DA. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think we need to file a public information request for that information.
Yeah, and see what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, but I'm more interested in Tom Salzer, the Sobo guy, basically taking a shot at the next governor of Louisiana. I mean, that can only do wonders for Bossier Parish.
Oh, well.
Thank you,
well,
Tom, for trying to help Bossier Parish.
But funny you should segue us into this comment right here.
Since we're throwing stuff out there, I was in a meeting that some people in this room were in the same meeting when Mr. Landry came in and asked about the Cypress Lake Valley Board and what was going on. We discussed it. He said, well, the Attorney General's office, quote, typically doesn't get involved in local stuff. We like to give our opinion and let the locals handle all that stuff themselves. That was on a Thursday afternoon. Monday or Tuesday morning, he filed suit against Robert Berry and the Cypress Black Valley Board.
It's the AG's fault.
And where was he at Thursday night?
It's the AG's fault. It's got to be Jeff
let it
Landry's
keep
fault.
Going.
All
Let
right,
it
here we
keep
go.
going.
A fundraiser here in Bossier.
Okay, I got a Duke over here wants to respond to that. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to point out that I think it was on that Thursday that the police jury had a meeting, whereas the parish attorney made the statement and gave Ms. Renee Hall a document and said, here's a suit. The 26 JDC is suing to determine whether the Attorney General is correct or incorrect. Whereas Monday morning, Jeff Landry himself was personally invited to enjoin on that lawsuit in which Benton, respectively, thumbed their nose and said, no, you're just an opinion. And ultimately, I would contend, along with all the other statutes and rulings that I've been declared to be lying about, the Supreme Court of Louisiana said, hey, you know what? Jeff Landry is right. So, I can be a liar and all this, but if anyone wants to review those statutes, by all means, leave Jeff Landry as well.
So did you? I know the audio, and you know what was said, but I don't know if everybody else could understand that. But Tom Salzer just said that Jeff Landry, the only reason he filed suit was because he had a fundraiser on that Thursday night. And what I retorted was no. The thing was on that Thursday at that police jury meeting, the parish attorney served Renee Hall at the police jury meeting regarding the Cypress district saying, quote, we filed a lawsuit out of the 26 JDC to determine if the Attorney General is correct or incorrect. Whereas Monday morning, after learning of the police jury and the 26 JDC trying to determine whether the AG was correct or not taking action to address the issue of dual office holding of Robert Berry, but to question the AG enjoined on a lawsuit that the 26 JDC. So Tom Salzer, again, Sobo, this is your guy, attacking the next governor of Louisiana. That can only help Bossier. How? Explain that to me. I'm dying to understand the intellect here because I don't get it.
Yeah, it was just amazing to me. All right, so let's pause for a second here. We're at 5 minutes till 10. We've still got lots of people watching, so we're still at 90 people on Facebook alone. That's probably well north of 100 people on our combined platforms. Do we want to keep going?
I think we keep going, but we got to get off of this. I mean, we have
Right.
beat this to a pulp. The bottom line is all of the police jury. I shouldn't say all. I mean, I shouldn't lump them all in there. But I mean, look, they're for the most part standing in lockstep. If you say anything against them, look, they are incapable of making mistakes. The bottom line, if they are an incumbent, they're incapable of making mistakes, and that if you say that they make mistakes, you're a liar.
Right.
It doesn't matter even if it's, emblazoned in statute or the Louisiana Constitution. If you oppose them, you're a liar. And, Tom Salzer, the Sobo guy, I got to tell you, I'm disappointed. I know you don't care. You even said it at the meeting. You could care less. You said, write it down in your book. He basically says, piss on all of the people that support term limits. He said, mark it down. I'm opposed to it. Y'all should have opposed him. I feel confident that in 4 years he will have opposition. But him and the rest of them, they don't care what you think. Only they know the answers for you. They know what's best for you. And you should just shut up and take it.
And Colonel Crockett says, who is a 26 JDC judge? Well, gosh, Colonel Crockett, that would be none other than Charles Jacobs. Imagine that. Who we're fixing to see in just a moment at the city council meeting. All right. So let's wrap up the PEC meeting with this. It will take me a couple of days because I've got another angle of the video, and I'm going to combine the audio and try to make the audio just a touch better. But I will post the entire PEC meeting under Bossier Watch just so everybody has the full context of everything. All right. So with that said, I caught parts of the city council meeting because I was driving to South Shreveport and I was trying to listen to it on my phone, through the YouTube streaming. So I'll start clicking. You'll just have to tell me where to go, Mr. Lowry. Are we going to start at the 20-minute mark right there, the first one, the change order?
Yeah, so the beginning of the council meeting, I mean, everything was going smooth, and then all of a sudden you had this change order on the Tower of Tax. And if y'all don't know what the Tower of Tax is, I would refer you to the sidewalk guys down there, Shane Cheatham. And they coined that phrase, the Tower of Tax, and I think it's appropriate because here we are. We've got to grow the Tower of Tax even more. We got a change order, and they're fixing to have a debate on it.
All right, so here we go.
Introduce an ordinance to approve report of change order number 1 for the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway beautification efforts within Phase 1 of the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway with an increase in project cost of $17,660.03 and adding an additional 143 days. First reading.
So moved. Second.
First by Councilman Montgomery, second by Councilman Williams. Questions from the audience? Name and physical address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Robert Wright, 6307 West Oxbow Circle. Just ask something that maybe y'all can help me with. I have all these change orders on various projects. Why aren't these included in the original bid? And I don't know exactly what that answer is, so that's why I wanted to ask it.
That's a great question. Well, wait a minute. The king calls on Ruttenbuck.
Tag team.
Bail me out.
I wish I had an easy answer for that. I don't. There's always things that occur during construction that are subsurface and beyond our physical ability to see, or things that occur during construction that we may think need to be modified or changed. And so we bring those before the council and ask for them to review those and understand what we're doing out there.
I saw recently something about adding lights to the if I have this correctly, adding lights to the
That is golden.
carriageway. I don't know if I'm correct or not.
That's not
But my
subsurface.
concern and question would be again, was lights not something that you could have known beforehand, assuming I'm right? Thank you.
As it pertains to that question, the lighting was part of the project. It was added in. We had it as an additive alternate. That work was added in because there was funding available to put that in, but it's an expensive component of any project, lighting or things like that.
So you couldn't have known that beforehand?
No, we did. It was part of the design beforehand, but it wasn't included in the base bid.
We knew it, but we didn't include it.
And we forgot to double check our our homework.
For cost.
So,
it wasn't included
All right,
in the
hold
base
on.
bid
He's trying to baffle with bullshit.
Oh yeah. So
I'm going to choke you for asking that. That's what he's saying right there.
Yeah. So we knew it, but we didn't include it because of the cost.
One way to keep the cost down initially, I guess.
We just want to include the cost, and then we'll come back and make a change order. I mean, isn't that a form, or isn't that a way of bid rigging or something like that? Say, okay, don't include the cost of this in it, and
we'll just do a change order later.
Right. Yeah, we'll just do a change order later. We'll add it in.
Yeah. All right.
No big deal.
Here we go.
Try to get the best and most reasonable price for the project.
One last thing, and I'll say, the concern I have, and I thank you for letting me ask these questions, is that we put out projects for bids, and we get a bid, and then all of a sudden, there's a change and a change and another change that increases the amount that wasn't in the original bid. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but this is just a question I've seen over time, and I think you give me some answer, but I'm sure you've got a better answer than that. I mean, more of an answer. Thank you. Why wasn't included in the original bid? I think that's how it's increased over time. Whether I'm right or not, I don't know.
Mr. President, I would ask that if we're going to have a dialogue, that the speakers be allowed.
Wait a minute.
The mic and then
wait a minute. Is it just me, or is Mr. Damn Point of Order yell and scream awfully soft-spoken? Does he have a cold or something?
Well, I want to go back a second. Why did he not direct the calling of Manchac to the chair? He called Ruttenbuck up directly.
Right.
I thought we're supposed to address the chair.
Yeah. And wait, did David call Ruttenbuck up, or did Free?
Queen David called Ruttenbuck up directly. He called him. So I'm just wondering.
Okay.
Do we have secret meetings? Do we have secret rules too? Or is there another set of rules?
I don't know. This is beyond Thunderdome. So Wes Marriott said what wasn't captured on the recording was the audience gasping and laughing at Manchac's response. They got to give Ruttenbuck credit. He's trying his best to baffle.
He is. Okay. Well, look, I got to say, the Matt Getz of Bossier, he couldn't take it anymore. He had to get in there.
So let's get to that. Here we go.
Did you say from the council?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, Mr. President. I've got numerous questions, Mr. President, so I won't be yielding my time. I'll just be getting answers to each question, if that's okay with you. The first question is, this was bid out in 2020, 3 years ago, when this money was appropriated for something, in my opinion, that is not benefiting the citizens of Bossier City. It's kind of a waste of money in my eyes.
What do you
I
really
don't
think?
understand this. Includes an increase in project cost by $10,773.25 for foundation modifications requiring an additional 94 days. From me driving by it every day, it looks like it's half built, and now they want to do foundation modifications?
No, sir. The foundation modifications are done. That was obviously all the foundation work was put in before they started building the monument up out of the ground. So
okay, go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
the plans included a helical pile foundation that was believed by the architect to address the foundation, much like
listen
a
close,
pre-engineered
guys.
building that you might be familiar with. Sometimes those things get engineered as part of the construction process. When they began doing the engineering work on that foundation, it was determined that what the contractor bid on, what he was asked to bid on, which was a helical pile foundation, wouldn't be sufficient based on the subsurface soils out there. So the contractor recommended a drilled concrete shaft foundation in lieu of the helical pile, and that's what's on the change order.
Okay, so the contractor, before he took this bid, he didn't do any kind of geotech work?
Correct.
Anything like that, so in the end, it's costing us?
Correct.
All right.
Y'all heard that, correct
And then the
and
engineering
correct.
firm that did the foundation plan, everything like that, so nothing is falling back in their court. They didn't do any geotech work either.
The plans did not originally have a foundation design per se in there, if that makes sense. That was part of the contractor's responsibility to take care of once the project.
Okay, wait a minute.
All right,
Wait a
we're
minute.
gonna stop right
So
there.
if I heard what he's saying correctly, part of the original contract on this tower of taxes didn't require plans for a foundation.
They were just gonna go out there with some wheelbarrows and quickcrete and pour a
now
foundation.
Now y'all think about that. There were no plans for a foundation for this thing. There were no plans. The contractor nor an engineer's report. Y'all think about that for a second.
Between
no
all
plan.
those highly paid engineers and contractor, none of them thought, we might want to have some plans for a foundation. I mean, they could have called me. I would have gone out there some rebar and quickcrete, poured them a nice foundation.
No, that seems odd, Rex. I can't put my finger around it, but it just seems like something's a little off here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem a little strange. All right, do we keep playing or do you want me to jump it?
2702.
All right, let's jump forward to 2702.
I just think, I mean, this was approved in 2020. There were 4 people, they're sitting here approved this. 3 of us were not privileged to this. It's kind of misleading that this ordinance was done back then as a beautification. Beautification in my eyes are shrubberies, trees, plants, stuff like that, not a $400,000 statue, and that's all the questions that I have, so I'll yield. Thank you, Mr. Rauschenbach.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions from council?
Where
All
did
right,
the
wait a
statute
minute.
come from?
All right, hold.
Wait, you gotta stop. You gotta
All
back
right.
up. So this thing was done in 2020, and Hammonds is pointing out this was the original ordinance was an ordinance for beautification.
Right.
And
I
and
don't.
Chris,
Yeah, the Tower of Tax Dollars wasn't mentioned in there anywhere.
well, that's what Chris Smith says here in just a second. Let Chris chimes in on what Hammonds is saying.
It was like tag team, ding, ding. Here we go.
Where did the statute come from?
Where did it come from?
Because Mr. Hammond just made a good point.
Wait. Did you see Montgomery? He's looking around like, do.
Oh, oops.
That's awesome. Here we go.
I'm looking at the original ordinance from December of 2020. These funds will be used to dramatically enhance the aesthetics of the Gateway Corridor into the city of Bossier. Says nothing about a statue, and I don't think that, he mentioned that 3 of us didn't vote on it. I don't think anybody voted on it. I don't think anybody voted on a statue, so I'm just curious where the statue came from. Whose idea was that? Who approved that?
Oh, wait a minute.
The administration and council did back when that was all being designed.
Oh. When did they
Hear the
have
crickets?
This?
The thing
Hear
is,
the crickets?
and I'm not directing this to you, Mr. Rauschenbach. This is just a general statement to my colleagues. I think that.
Okay, hold up a second. You gotta stop. We can't. We got to stop here.
Yeah.
Y'all understand the point that Chris Smith just made? The point is, and Ruttenbuck said the mayor and the council, but yet there's no council meeting.
No
no
minutes, no meeting, no nothing.
Well,
those meetings before and after the meetings that we say happen and they say don't, except when they get caught happening.
So where is it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that there is, but I have faith in what Chris Smith is saying. I mean, I'm sure that he's researched it. When was the meeting that they voted on to do a statute? And maybe that explains why there's no substructure or engineering report from a contractor on the statute, because it was a fly by wire deal. They didn't have any freaking bids or all that crap.
I must have accidentally skipped over the part where Montgomery did a point of order to get Phyllis to go back and read the minutes from the meeting where they did this. I must have accidentally skipped over that.
Yeah, we got to go back and play it again, because I'm confident that that's probably in there. There's no way
It's gotta be.
he didn't. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't forget crap.
Yeah, I mean, who in the audience was at the meeting? Wes, I think you were there. So did I accidentally skip over that? Did Montgomery get Phyllis to go back and read the minutes back?
Yeah, I mean, sure, no way. I mean, yeah, where's it at? We had to have missed it, because surely he pointed to the minutes where they actually voted to approve a statute. I mean, where's Bubba and Darby and Jeff Free? Y'all are the ones that were there. When did y'all vote on it?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
It's the first time we've been able to cast a vote on this. I think anybody has been able to cast a vote on this, and I think it's a pretty bad look when we have streets and sidewalks that we can't repair. We don't have the money in the budget to do that. We've got police and fire who are the bottom paid in their respective fields. Money's not in the budget to give them a raise. You have municipal employees who lost their COLA 10 years ago and have, in the last 10 years, have had maybe 2% raises. They could go across the street to McDonald's and make more money, but it's not in the budget. Retirees, for heaven's sake, some of which have given their life to this city, they can't even pay their insurance premiums. No money in the budget to address that, but there's money for a $300,000 statue. And when we look at the issue of term limits and we ask why are the citizens determined to bring this up, it's because of things like this. And it's not to take anything away from Mr. Bigby, because he gave a lot to this community and to this state. But we did name a $60 million road after him. And I think that we have no choice. We have to pass this now because it's halfway built. We'll just have a brick column standing in the middle of a roundabout. But this does not.
You could have left it there, Chris.
Economic development. It does not create any jobs. It does not create quality of life. It does nothing, but we can drive past it every day and say we built it.
All right. That was probably the best speech Chris Smith has given so far.
Additional questions from the council?
It probably was, and I got to give Ruttenbuck credit. He's just standing there.
He just stood there and took it.
Oh, shit.
He's looking over there at Queen David going, what do you want me to say, boss?
Yeah, what now, boss?
Wow. All right, so let's see.
Go to. All right, so there was an interesting thing that started taking place when there was discussion, and this is important, guys. I don't think a lot of people caught this, but we got to go to the 3342 mark when they're talking about the 2024 capital and operating budgets being moved to a workshop meeting for the benefit of the public. So go to 3342 mark and play it.
All right, here we go.
Motion carries to combine, introduce the ordinances for the 2024 capital and operating budgets.
All right, so if we wanted to take more time to examine this, what would be the proper procedure, Phyllis?
If you want to vote to continue it, you can vote to continue it. We have a public hearing scheduled for the 17th.
Which is open to the public and for all their comment regarding
Yes,
that. So
yes, sir.
in light of that, and plus the fact that there appears to be a funding mechanism that is taking roughly over $3 billion of capital revenue and transferring that to the general fund. And if you've heard my colleague speak today about the necessary capital expenditures that are warranted throughout this city and every district, I feel imperative that we take a closer look at the effect of that capital revenues reduction and the transfer to the general fund, because that means once that money is taken out of capital, the revenue stream, for all practical purposes, it's gone forever, because otherwise you have to make the cuts that we made in '09. So I would make the motion that we continue these budgets
Wait a minute.
until the November 7th meeting to get.
Do you understand what he just said?
Well, I understand that his voice is much more nervous than usual, and I'm wondering why. He must be sick.
Well, I mean, it sounds like to me what he's saying is, look, if you are proposing to move this money around, you're going to take away money from my ability to spend on pet projects that I want to spend on.
Like, what if they want to build another tower?
And that concerns me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good translation.
I don't know. I that's what I'm reading. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, keep going, because we got to get to the 35 mark, because that is where there is an amazing thing said that I don't think anybody heard.
Okay, we're almost there. Here we go.
Get the input of the public.
Oh, we're doing it for the public.
Hearing on October 17th. Take that into account and take a hard look at the decision we're fixing to make, because it will have an effect on the people of Bossier City from now on.
Oh, you mean all the decisions made to date aren't already having an effect on all the citizens of Bossier?
Yeah, like
okay.
spending $300,000+ on a stupid statue in the middle of a roundabout, by the way, which is not safe, but that's a whole other report that I'll bring probably next week.
You know, I mean, look, David, you might
the heck with that safety thing.
You might as well throw in YMCA right now. I mean, just go on and throw it out there. Come on back with it again.
Yeah, maybe they could build the YMCA over by the roundabout.
Yeah.
Just saying. It'd be right there by the Walter O. Bigby statue that has 4 silhouettes.
Hey, why not? You know.
All right, here we go.
All right.
So, Mr. Montgomery, I think there's a shortfall, a couple of budgets that we got to have questions about, and you know, I'd like to schedule some meetings with the mayor to talk about several of these budgets.
Wait a minute. Whoa, stop.
Whoa.
Stop. Did you catch that?
Something about a budget shortfall.
He said multiple shortfalls. I don't think anybody caught that, but he said, Mr. Montgomery, you know, we're going to need to talk about shortfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has anybody in Bossier City said anything about shortfalls until right now at this moment?
No, nobody said anything. They got plenty of cash, right?
I thought they balanced budget every year. I mean, maybe that's why David Montgomery's voice is stuttering just a little bit, because I'm going to tell you, I got a gut feeling here. I think they all know something that the public doesn't know. I think there's a problem that they know is on the horizon down there that they haven't disclosed to the public.
You don't say.
And Bubba just gave you the first indication. He laid it out there.
Something about chickens coming home to roost type deal.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the whole I'm speculating here. I'm spitballing.
Impossible, because Wes Marriott reminds us that I thought we run the city like a business. That's what Queen David said.
Guys, read between the lines. You got Montgomery trying to push this off to November, and you got Bubba talking about shortfalls. They know freaking something, and they ain't telling the public.
Very interesting, very good catch there, Mr. Lowry. And I would like to say, like you mentioned earlier, we're still at across YouTube and Facebook over 100 people, and we are now at the 3 hour and 20-minute mark. That is awesome. So glad you guys are staying with us.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna look, Rex. I got to say this. Look, I love Bossier City. It's where I was born. I mean that and H-Town. But I got to tell you, the employees of the city, y'all better be paying attention because, you know, Bruce Touch says in the comments, I predict city services are about to take a nosedive. You know what? I think Bruce might be on to something. Your elected officials down here have not painted us into a good corner here, and there's trouble on the horizon, and you might want to be paying attention. Just
And
saying.
and Jessica makes a good comment. Says that guess we're going to be hauling our own trash. Remind me in one of the upcoming episodes to get on my soapbox about trash service. I'm not going to do it tonight because it'll be a long soapbox, but we're going to talk about trash service. All right.
Well, I gotta tell you, I got a pile of limbs that almost take a dump truck to haul off right there on the little street next to my property in Bossier. I mean, anyway.
All right. Do we want to skip to Tommy's comment?
Yeah, because Tommy makes a point here that I think there might have been something right here he was trying to say, but I don't know. Just play it.
Should have continued.
Yes, we did have some meetings prior that I got to talk to 3 of y'all, and I was kind of, wanting to know where I asked, we could talk about this earlier, but I mean, if we're going to talk about it, I'm more than happy to, guys.
So he says, I asked, his English here is a little funny, but he says, I asked, I only talked to 3 of you. Well, if he's proposing a budget, why has he not talked to all the councilmen?
Well,
and if he hasn't talked to all the councilmen, from what position are they talking about knowledge of the budget? If they haven't
Out of their ass?
I mean, it's hard to kind of determine because his language wasn't completely clear there in what he was saying, but it seems like he was saying something else.
Okay. Let's see. Jessica Langley Maddox says what happens to work sessions. And Holly Cole says Hammond's brought up the trash and exposed that they had just renewed in July for 5 more years. I don't have a problem with the trash service. It's about trash in general. But again, that's for a whole other show, I promise you. All right, what do we want to skip to next? The 38 mark the public needs to know?
Well, Colonel Crockett made some really good points. Colonel Crockett, as usual, always eloquent, always to the point. And, we'll briefly play the 3809 mark because he made a couple of points that he said it before, but, it warrants saying it again.
That approval. How did we get here? Some of this council remember that 20 years ago, Bossier City's debt was around $100 million. Today, it's over $400 million. The public does not know that. Look no further. This is a significant reason why Bossier City can't afford reasonable pay raises. Significant inflation is here probably to stay for the foreseeable future. There are ways to increase positive cash flow that ought to be considered in the.
That's it. I mean, the bottom line, you have a debt load that is taking in all your revenue. I mean, the bill on that debt, and that's because of $400,000 statues that you never voted on in the public. It's because of crap like that.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help. I mean, in the big scheme of things, $400,000 on a, what is it now? $30 million? What are we even up to? What's the debt of Bossier City? What did he just say? 400 million?
Just said 400 million.
Yeah, I mean, so what's 400,000, Duke? I mean, that's, almost around here.
Jump a hair forward. Now Phyllis chimes in, and Phyllis makes an amazing point as well. She is responding to the king.
On the 17th. Okay. Mr. Montgomery, I did get the answer to that question that you asked me about to find out that the 75 million it's still there. In order for the city to do something with, they would have to be another ordinance passed to change some of the dates and the amounts and things, but that it is
correct.
Still
So they would have to come before the council again for approval, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, stop it. What does that mean?
Means
What
they got
does that
$75
mean?
million that they're paying interest on that's sitting there.
Well, the King David's trying to figure out where to spend 75 million. He's not looking at cutting costs. He's not
That's a
looking at not
really
spending
big
more money.
statue. That's a really big tower of tax dollars.
Everybody else is worried about 20,000 change order. He's thinking about ways to spend 75 million. He's on another level. He's thinking about spending. He ain't heard nothing anybody saying reduce debt. He's not thinking about any of that crap.
Go big or go home, baby.
I mean, he's already asked Phyllis a question about the 75 million. He's thinking ahead, guys.
Wow. All right, fast
Anyway.
forward. Shall we move to the term limits?
Yep,
Part
keep
of
rolling.
this? All right, here we go. Let's see.
Carries. Popped up yet? There we go. Adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Bossier City, state of Louisiana, to vote upon the adoption of amendments to the current city charter of the city of Bossier City, making application to the State Bond Commission, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. First and final reading.
So moved.
Second. First by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Hammonds.
Hey, I wonder which way Maggio's going to vote.
You know, I'm wondering. He was against term limits,
Good afternoon.
only to
Wes
be
Marriott,
for
4330
term limits.
Panther Drive.
What will
Only
it be
bid
today?
against them. Yeah. Which way is the wind blowing?
Hello again. We have discussed term limits at every meeting for the past 3 months. It should be obvious
That's
that
awesome.
the city and citizens of Bossier City are not backing down. They have spoken loudly with over 2,900 certified signatures on the Bossier term limits petition, more votes than nearly all of you received in your individual campaigns. The city received a certified petition demanding a change be made to the city charter, and the charter requires action upon receipt of a certified petition. Not opinion, not delays, action. Instead of action, what have we seen? Unlawful obstructions, shady legal maneuvers, and delays that deny and defy the essence of our democratic process. This morning came news of an absolute joke of a lawsuit against the Registrar of Voters and the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. Actions that challenge the spirit of our laws and ignore the guidance of the Attorney General. Let's make the stakes absolutely clear. Mr. Maggio, you publicly supported term limits and stated you wanted to see it on the ballots in November. That opportunity has come and gone, sir. Mr. Darby, last year you spoke passionately about wanting to see more participation. 2,977 petitioners participated in this process.
I'm sorry. You got to stop. He just said, Mr. Maggio, you supported term limits and said you wanted to see it on the ballots.
Yeah.
I got to know, how did Maggio vote today?
I got to see this.
You got to jump ahead. I got to know. I'm sorry, Wes. I can't listen no more. I got to know.
Okay, so hold on. Where's the vote?
57-13.
Yep. Oh, let's.
He's against it this week.
Wait, now I'm really confused. Bubba Don voted yes? What the?
Okay.
Are they playing?
Hold up. Bubba Don said, look, I hit the wrong button. You know, I'm against it. He said that I hit the wrong button. But Vince didn't change his. Vince was against it.
Okay. This is like playing whack-a-mole at Chuck E. Cheese. We never know which side they're going to pop up on.
Yeah, but all the rest of them are consistent. But Vince, you don't.
He's
know
all over the place.
You don't know from 1 week to the next where he's going to be.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. Do we need to go back and no offense to you out there, Wes, because I know you're watching, or at least you were earlier. So do we need to go back and listen to? Does he throw some more zingers at him?
Well, of course he does. He even goes so far as to pointing out that there were more signatures on the term limits petition than any of them garnered in their last election. And he just kept humming zingers out there. Wes is, on the mark, but it doesn't matter. They're not listening to any of it. They don't care. I don't get it. I do not understand why all these elected officials think they know best. They think that they don't have to listen to people from the public. Tom Salzer, he was trying to dismiss arguably a majority of people that are out of his district that supported this, and not even giving them credit for being a part of the parish, dismissive of it. The arrogance. I mean, I'm sorry, people like that are not deserving to serve the public. They are not.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, and we apologize to the people that were hoping that we do the city first. We've been on the city so long. I mean, Wes pointed out right there, this term limits deal has been dominating the city council meetings for the last several months. It's been dominating our show, obviously, for the last several months. But we wanted to make sure and remind everybody and remind the police jury that we've not forgotten about them. You guys are up, before too long. Trust me.
And Jessica Maddox makes a great point. She says, seriously, you don't get it. People keep reelecting them.
You're right.
She's absolutely correct. Everybody keeps voting for these people. And, the people are at a disadvantage because when you have these silver-tongued people, saying, oh, we didn't, that's a lie. You're liars when you call them out, only to end up when they get squeezed, acknowledge that, well, no, he wasn't a resident and he wasn't registered to vote. We were told that so long as he ultimately got there, it's those type of things that the deceiving the public, it's not fair. It's not right. You shouldn't be doing that.
It's not, but look, and we've said this over and over, and of course, Jessica's absolutely correct. We've got to get the word out to more people because we have a skewed perspective. We talked about this many times. You and I do. We're into politics. We're into this stuff going on. They give us plenty of ammunition to talk about every week. So we kind of just think that everybody thinks like we do, or is think about it as much as we do. Let me clarify that. And that's not necessarily the case. So I would ask that all of our viewers make a concerted effort to educate your neighbor, educate your friend. That's how we start putting a stop to all these shenanigans all the time.
That is exactly how you do it. There's been right at 100 people, live viewers, and throughout this whole show. If 100 people tell 100 more people, no, look, this is really the deal. I mean, that's a significant number.
It is. It is.
It starts change. It starts it.
It does. So we've got 80-something people watching across Facebook, another 30-something on YouTube, probably a couple on Twitter. Folks, make sure and let all your friends know if they want to hear about the city council and see our summary of that. They can watch the replay. Of course, we leave all the shows up there. I'll have the podcast. Honestly, probably not tonight. I'll probably release the podcast in the morning. But if, just thanks for everybody watching. 82 people at 3 hours and 32 minutes. And we talked about the city council and the PEC. Well, and the police jury. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, y'all are paying attention. You're becoming informed, and that's the start of changing our local government and making our community better. That's how it works.
All right, so we'll start wrapping up. Remember, Proton Mail. Make your free Proton Mail account. Don't put any identifying information in it. If you have something you want to send to us, bossierwatch at protonmail.com from your Proton Mail account, and we do look into that kind of stuff. If you want to go over to the website, I am going to start actually revamping the website pretty soon, but you can buy a coffee mug over there. I will get the hats up there in the next couple of days. I'm starting to work on that now. Blah, blah, blah. If you want to donate, helps us pay the bills because, the show costs us a couple of $100 a month to put on, not to mention our time.
Hey, to everybody that shared hashtag vacate the chair. Thank you. We won. Go Matt Getz.
All right, we appreciate everybody watching, and I am going to pay more attention to what's going on in Washington over the next couple of days, Duke. I'll take the hint.
All right, sounds good. Good night, everybody. Thank you all for watching.
Good night. See y'all later.